The draft here for game number 1. Sejuani already taken away from Gideon. His tank play has been outstanding. A good idea to take that one away. I wonder whether a cheeky Xin Zhao ban is going to come on through from Nongshim, because Owner has been so good at that pick, or whether they leave something up that needs to be prioritized and take that away.
Owner, to me, been the most consistent player on T1 this split, and I'd say even this year. Carrier's highs have been great, but I think particularly in the last series, we did see him struggle a little bit. The Vibe ban, no surprise. And I'm with you. I expect that they leave open the Xin Zhao and just pick it on first rotation.
And they can leave open the Gwen as well, because they have the counter pick of the Diana.
Oh. Okay.
What?
Well, I was actually thought you were going to make a serious point. I did not enjoy that.
Wait, you thought that I was going to make a serious point?
That
was your first mistake.
How can you always make it my fault? This is...
Because I'm a manipulator.
It works well. I'm an easy target. Don't give yourself too much credit. So the Xin Zhao ban is because I think Xin Zhao is the best jungler on the patch that people are still allowed to have. And they also knew that Owner was never going to get it, because I think that's 100% early rotation.
Right.
So I assume it's a Jace and Gwen trade is what you're going with here. And I think those are the only two top laners right now that feel like you're of similar power levels. It's going to be the Gwen for Doran, and then Kingen. I think guaranteed this is going to be a Jace lock-in. The big question is, do you then also slam something like the Azir, which is what I would be looking towards next. That's been a target band at T1 fairly often, and it's something that I think works well together with the Jace, gives you a lot of ranged threat and firepower.
Well, Kingen taking his time thinking about it. I think the Jace is almost a guaranteed lock-in, and there is at least the hover. The lock comes on through, and now Gideon to take the highest priority. Jungler left over could be an option here. We'll see exactly where he is going to go. The Azir will be the lock-in instead. So like you're saying, deny one of the strongest mid laners at the moment, and Faker's most played champion by a mega margin.
The Fury is open. Could see it go Owner towards that. I think he's looked decent on it. He did have the really great start against Humble Life, but you don't really need more damage. The Gwen alone, I think, is enough, so it's going to be the Skarner. Another benefit of the Skarner is that it really frees up Keria to play something a little bit weirder. Although, without looking right now, I think Nongshim is very likely to get counterpick for Lahens, who is also a known jester in the bot lane.
Yeah.
Now, mid lane here for Faker. The Victor is something we see pretty often, would make their top side very AP heavy. With the Talia, you have the same, but you have a lot more utility mid-game, and you have the ability to impact the rest of the map. Does also mean that Smash most likely is going to go for something with a lot of AD damage here, because I do think that Talia can struggle a little bit early. There's the Poppy, and I think Poppy jungle, I'm glad we're starting to see come back. Gideon had a monster performance on
He was so good. Easiest POM ever after that game. It did make it a little bit more difficult when Kingen did mega boom boom damage. But he still managed to pick it up. That was absolutely fantastic. No shade to Orcs for his Kingen vote, but still Gideon was super duper good. The Renata going to be banned away here from Carrier, and I think Nautilus Elise, you know, the standard second round bans against Lahens.
The best part about this is that they're not locked into this being a jungler.
Yeah.
So they can pick AD carry on 4, and then either, depending on what carry ends up picking, go for Lahens counterpick, which Lahens is, outside of carry, I think, the most notorious counterpick support player that we have in the LCK. And what is going to be the setup here? Notably, the Varus has made it through the draft, and with that Ezreal ban, I do think that that is going to be taken away here.
I think you almost have to.
By T1, well, especially because you can't really counter it reliably, and so many of the possible things you could go towards are already taken away. So the Renata, which would enable, like, if you go Ashe Renata, I think you still have a really strong 2v2.
Yep.
So I think the Varus ban would make a ton of sense. You do have a lot of threat with that Gwen, so maybe they think that that's enough. But with Jace as well, I think you just ban Varus. There's going to be the Rakan instead.
Wow, that's interesting. I think maybe they were expecting perhaps the Lover's Duo to come in. Lahens has been very good, as instead it will be the Alice to prioritize.
Is this a Nila angle? Is that, like, I don't think it should be. There's a Talia on the enemy team, but...
Oh, would be kind of fun. They've got Jace for at least a semblance of range. And Nila does better into Gwen, because Gwen can't be immune to Nila, because Nila has no range. Checkmate.
We'll see. It is Gio. I think he's, as mentioned, has not had a great performance thus far. We had him for one series, a 2023 Gio, and then he was kind of gone after that.
Oh,
That
okay.
is the damage we were talking about. I think also getting a bit of an X factor in the early game is going to feel great.
The Zeri Yumi?
It's that or Lulu, right?
Yeah, I guess
You
so.
could always go just
All
for
right.
a... Okay, there is a Lulu. I think the Lulu makes sense to really hone in on the very aggressive early laning pressure, which of course with lane swaps you can't swap away from the Lulu anymore. And this is actually a pretty reliable bully lane. So what is Gio going to pick here? Because if you end up with something short range, I think you are really going to struggle in the matchup. Ash has made it all the way through. And the one thing that I do think that you would really appreciate is Nongshimir is a way to kind of non-committally start fights. Varus also does that. I don't think it's quite as good as the Ash Arrow, but that is going to be the lock-in here.
This is very curious. I think T1 have a really well-rounded composition. Still very magic heavy.
Yeah.
From like
extremely.
everywhere. So I'm interested to see whether like Gideon's just going to be immortal later in the game.
It's also the hard engage on this comp is pretty lacking. Like looking at what they have, there is so much range, because I assume this will be Lethality, Varus, Jace, and Azir on the team. And engaging onto the T1 comp, or the Nongshim comp, is really hard. There's Poppy, there's Azir, there's Alistar. So if Nongshim play this cleanly, like the disengage is crazy.
Yeah, but if you've got no engage, what's their disengage going to do, Chronicler?
Well, they get outranged, so they do kind of need to engage.
Oh yeah, I guess so. It was almost like a cute little,
I liked
you know, like it's like, wow, we don't need engage. They've got too much disengage. So what's the point? But you're right. If in neutral you get outranged, it becomes a very large problem. And so T1, I think they're going to have to be extremely proactive, and I think a lot is going to come down to how much control of the map they have. Because if they lose map control, they just cannot face check anything. They can never get into anywhere. I mean, a Lulu is not going to be running around throwing down wards with impunity unless you have a great deal of control. It is something that T1 has been very good at in the past, and that is controlling the early game, making sure they can snowball leads. Nongshim, though, if they're allowed to get any space to breathe in this game, they could just win. It's a big gamble. Let's jump onto the Rift for game number 1. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1 of week 3 of LCK 2025. Doran versus Kingen. 41-11, you said.
It is, yeah.
That's and yeah, that's Doran ahead of Kingen here. And I imagine there's a few of you at home that are also thinking that in your mind, the power level of Doran isn't that high. But I feel like maybe he's just been getting a bad rap, you know, over the years. He's been there in some of these most monumental failures of a lot of our LCK teams, and maybe he's bearing the brunt too heavily.
It's because the moments feel so bad.
Yeah.
But it is, for the last, what, like 4 years, Doran has been,
I mean,
on
he
average,
was the guy that got Gen G to one of their first titles. It was either first or second when he was the one that brought out the Gragas and demolished Zeus.
Opinions to this point still differ about whether or not there was another big factor, which was the Pace versus Doran MVP debacle. To this day is an ongoing source of discussion amongst casters. It should come as no surprise.
I'd forgotten about that one.
Yeah, it should come as no surprise.
I'm like re-mad about that.
No, it should come as no surprise who I voted for.
Yeah.
But Doran to me is so interesting because his teammates love him universally on any of the teams he's been on. And particularly domestically, he has been a top 3, on average, a top 3 top laner in the LCK, right? It's just that internationally his moments are so incredibly high profile, you know, they're not showing up. They're showing up in a bad way that I think really has hurt his performance. I do think thus far, though, this year he has been very muted. I haven't really seen the Doran trademark team fighting, which is one of the things that Gen G in particular really relied on. And I would like to see them kind of lean into that as Gideon. He has cleared a little bit of jungle, and he is looking, and Faker might not be ready for this Poppy.
Yeah, that was a weird ping that he went for as well, as he just pushes Faker away, gets the Q down, and that is just annoying.
That's the worst. Yeah, that feels horrible. Faker is going to just have to back, is going to have to invest his TP very early. and this comes to an extremely minimal delay. For Gideon, he's not going to be bothered. And there is, again, the most consistent part of Nongshim thus far this year has been Gideon's early pathing. He has made so much happen on the map for Nongshim.
Yeah, he's been incredibly good to watch. And Len's going to get rid of Smash here momentarily. Of course, this bottom lane is going to be in favor of the Zeri Lulu, just because they have double range, and Alistar isn't really a champion until level 3. Level 2 kinda, but mainly just level 3. And even then, it's not really going to help you in just the regular laning phase.
No.
Crab going to be started here by Ona towards the top side of the map. Gideon going to be moving on over there, but there is a ward for T1 that's already in position. Ona going to come on over and scout things out. Or at least see whether there's a Raptor camp or a gank onto Calix as he picks up a rock, and in he comes. Let's see whether Calix is going to be okay, and it's just a drive-by. No harm, no foul, and Ona is going to come down and look for a double scuttle.
We'll get that. So that is the price that Gideon pays, as it turns out, for his transgression. There's a dive angle here, though.
Wow, yeah. Oh my god, he's almost just dead.
Base right now. Ooh, yeah, I think they know.
He does have flash, but I just don't know whether there's any way to live.
He might just be dead. Oh, the flash.
Good flash on the heroic charge.
Still, though.
Yeah, gets his flash.
Gets the flash.
That's a whole wave.
Yeah, it's going to go into the turret. TP now is a lot more punishing. Do not forget. That's going to really solidify that CS lead for King. It's nothing crazy, but the experience is a big deal. He's now half a level down, and that is going to impact. Jace is not, you know, the hardest spiking champion on level 6. The swaps come through.
Yeah, Calix eats a few rocks here, but
he still has TP.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Been hanging around for quite some time. Might be why Faker is in a pretty good spot CS-wise. This wave being picked up. Calix is playing very respectfully, as we can see. Slurps up all of the minions. Faker knows, looking for a reset. He's going to hard shove as much as he possibly can. As Doran back to it here, this time on the bottom side of the map, and it is somewhat cathartic seeing a Gwen not completely run away with every matchup ever. Kingen playing this one pretty well so far, with a bit of help from his Poppy.
Yeah, and that honor is only reserved for Jace, who has done that for I don't know how long. It's been an ongoing theme, as we do have the continued pressure of Smash and Keria. Keria's flash did get popped, which I'm pretty sure we didn't see, which Lanzus is also used, so I assume he just went for engage towards the bottom side of the map. But it didn't work, and I also imagine that play is what led to this CS lead being very big. It's 350 gold this early on.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
It's pretty gnarly. We'll see if Gideon can impact this top lane matchup. The one thing that I do want to highlight, we haven't really talked about yet, that is in favor of T1 when it comes to the team comp. Obviously, they skill insanely well. I do think range can be an issue for teams that have limited hard engage and are playing into a lot of disengage. But there is also not really a great way to reliably lock down Smash as Lahans and Gideon.
Right. Yep, they're looking for an angle here, as Smash could be the target. There's the headbutt, double pulverized from Lahans, as Gio just not really able to do anything because Ona's making his way forward. He picks up a Poppy and looks to see whether he can get rid of him, and there is first blood, and it goes to the Zeri. Flash forward here from Ona. They are not done yet. But actually they are, because Nongshim will make it to their turret still. The push is going to continue, and T1, yeah, this is angry T1.
Flash from Owner notwithstanding. Amazing counter gank there. That was definitely very optimistic. I maybe you thought with the slow that they could force Gio's flash. I think killing him there is always out of the question, or maybe Lahans. But the counter gank diving there was really, really clean. A bit of a hard force there from Nongshim, right? You are still in a very long lane, so actually getting on top of the target there was something that against Lulu and against a Zeri is always hard. Smash also has Ghost, so between Ghost and Heal, even with the double knock-up, not quite going to be in range. It's another attempt at the play.
We're going for it one more time. That's another double pulverize, getting the flash this time out of Smash.
That's good. Good play.
Yeah, well played.
Gio has not been hitting these arrows, as Doran might be in trouble again.
Yeah, doesn't have flash this time around, so he's just going to get booped around like a ragdoll, and Gideon going to help Kingen grab his first kill of the game. And he'll get some plates for his trouble as well. The Gwen still struggling here.
Price that is paid there by Nongshim is free grubs, which Owner did pick up. But with the ward, Gideon knew that this time there was no pesky counter gank available.
Wow, Calix, that was brave.
Well, you know,
Seismic Shove is it is an awkward skill shot, right? Like it feels like it has a lot more hitbox from the back and a lot less on the front.
I've played a ton of Taliyah. It's weird. Sometimes you have days where you just, you're in the zone, you're hitting all of them. And then sometimes you're like, please, someone on my team CC someone so I can hit and do some damage.
Just set it up for me, please.
Yeah. The CS lead on both top and bot for both sides respectively is getting increasingly large here.
Yeah.
And it's been, the impact of Gideon has been really big for King. King was also doing fine in the 1v1, not even going to miss anything there. Single minion.
Yep.
Gets the XP, so he's not going to be too bothered. Still up a level, by the way. And then on the flip side, Chiyu, level behind. And if a few of those arrows were a bit more on point, I do feel like they could have had a little bit more pressure towards Smash and Keria, because this bot lane is going to be a problem. And again, outside of the Poppy, or Alistair somehow getting on top, I feel like that shouldn't happen unless Nongshim have full control of the vision or a specific area. Locking Smash down reliably is that's not easy.
I mean, Poppy has always been considered a good champion for it, but like you say, you have to get there.
Well, there's also Skarner and Taliyah on the enemy team, which I think make it a little...
Yeah.
Skarner into dive is always going to be big. But again, for me, if Nongshim played patiently, it's going to have to be T1 that starts off any specific sequence. But T1 can obviously try to play around that by getting Prio on an objective, pushing the waves. Because if they force Nongshim to move into them, I think the composition still works very, very well. And we have just basically even gold because of the extremely lopsided matchups in both top and bottom.
Yep. And so there are certainly some leads starting to form, like you say, they're answered. First Dragon hasn't even been looked at here 10 minutes into the game as Kingen is just wandering around being frustrating. Ona making his way in though as Doran kind of giving it away. Misses the last needlework there as we can see. So Kingen...
missing Kingen.
All right, he's feeling pretty safe. Does have the flash, elects not to use it as he does then jump over, but the seismic shove comes in, and of course, he is just going to die. T1, with the help of Faker, are able to grab their second.
Big mistake there by Kingen, using that flash. Dying to the gank is rough, but it's the flash specifically that I think he definitely could have helped. The moment you see that Taliyah wall, you're not getting out. Does Gideon just kill him?
He might. He's at least going to try. Let's see how this one goes. Yeah, okay. Good side steps. Zona's going to turn up and Gideon has to flash. A little bit optimistic by the Poppy as the teleport is going to bring Kingen back to lane. As we can see, gold lead now starting to move in favor of T1.
If he hits that Q, it might have been enough. Grasp Gwen is crazy, Atlas. Like, Gwen already is a champion that's known for being frustrated to try to all in because her sustain is kind of out there. But when you add Grasp on top of that, the healing that it does is wild. And also Gideon misses Q, so, in this instance, we can't really feel too bad for him. And it's going to cost him his flash, but it's Hex.
Yeah. Just activates the Hex Flash. It's totally fine.
What is nice to see is that Calyx, even while getting counterpicked and also this kind of feeling like a pick away, has been able to kind of build off of the early lead that was given to him by Gideon, right? Build up a pretty respectable lead. Was able to get one plate, I think, and is just a little bit ahead. Nothing too crazy. We are really trying to put all eggs in the shut Doran down basket as the Grub's now going to be fought over.
Yeah, Owner is at least going to be able to take one of them, so that is Void Mites activated here for T1. I believe Gideon will be able to at least steal one of them away, as they do go for a bit of a reset.
Owner might be
just
looking...
being some artillery here.
Yeah, so just cheekily smite one away, but no, not gonna... maybe thinking about it. Even a single smite going to 5 would be nice. Not a necessity, but it looks like they want to try and go for that.
Yeah, smite actually going to be invested. Hex Flash out from Gideon. Owner just barely unable to counter that, and 5-1 in Grub's going to be the thing here as Jiu going to have to flash. As Faker with a really nice lineup of that seismic shove. Calyx towards the bottom side is still continuing to put on pressure. You can see has a CS lead and is going to waste another minion wave, but there is a cannon here, so Faker should be able to get most of it.
Oh, Calyx?
Some vision here as Calyx does look for an angle. Conquering Sand's going to come on through, doesn't hit the flick. And there is another plate to come on down. As Kingen just playing 1v2, but there is a cheeky little cow here on the top side.
Doesn't know!
Looking to move in as well, and there is. Doesn't quite find the angle there on the Pulverize. As now Ona coming on down to meet Calyx, and Calyx says goodbye. No lawnmowers for this pigeon.
That's a gruesome imagery. I'm glad that I'm glad it just was able to fly away, Atlas. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got a family of pigeons on your balcony right now.
Yeah. There is actually one is already hatched. The other one is still an egg. They're very cute. I've been told it's a mountain pigeon. I'm not into birding myself, so I'm not too well acquainted.
Thankfully, you have Jees on there to tell you what all of the different pigeon breeds are.
Yeah, I had no idea that she was aware, but you know,
she knows all.
Very cute.
Have you heard of omnipotence? That's what Jisun has.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Nope.
She is also always in our heads telling us what's going on. As the first dragon of the game taken, what, like 15 minutes in? 40 minutes in?
Yeah, 40 minutes. We'll give it that.
And a half.
We'll round it up. And I feel like Nongshim shouldn't have this little control for this stage of the game. Right now, the gold isn't really too much of an issue, but it feels like T1 are kind of doing whatever they want. As Kingin still with a lot of power here on this top side, but I think Doran is just going to get happier and happier as this game goes, right? He is a Gwen, scales quite nicely, even if it was mainly her, early game. That is why she's so high priority here in the LCK at the moment. She still is an absolute menace later on.
So what they did is they buffed her early and then nerfed her late because her late was too good. They did a great job of buffing the early. The nerfing late didn't really go through as much as I think they had hoped, so now she's just kind of always good. Yeah. I think Jace is kind of the same though, and I do think when you have a lead on a champion like Jace, you are able to kind of maintain that. And we are going to have to see Nongshim set up proactively, because I do think that they can struggle if they're not going to objectives first. And the big thing is that consistently, GU has not been able to maintain the level of prior, right? Which is why Smash has been able to build such a big lead, but it's also kind of locked Lahens in. We haven't really seen him go off on journeys by his own. He's mostly been alongside GU, and again, I think the matchup is really rough, but I also do think that at this point in the game, being almost 1,000 gold behind without really any intervention is not where you want to be as Lahens.
Yeah, Faker gonna look for him here as he holds the seismic shot for a really long time, gets turned into a little snowman, which is adorable, and keeps his cool, holds onto the flash.
That's
Faker
big.
takes a big Q there from Gio at the same time as Doran going for it once again. That last needlework not quite going to connect. As Faker is everywhere, but Calyx is still going to kill this turret no matter what he does. Let's see whether Faker can finish him off. The answer is no, because there is a Sun Disc being put up. Calyx just going to stand down here and continue to get money in his back pocket. 650, now the gold lead just for him.
My man is PvEing hard.
Yeah.
Okay, unfazed. That was the teleport invested from Faker, by the way. Was really looking to deny that turret getting taken, and that's a big deal. That means that now, even if T1 is able to pick up the next objective, they won't be looking too hot when it comes to defeats.
Yep.
They would need at least another kill, which...
Yeah, right now they are poised to get the other two, as Lahens doesn't have ult, remember, and Ona doesn't have the ability to get close to him because he presses Pulverize. So that is going to interrupt.
Oh, it's the grub fight. One-item spikes have been hit across the board, but Nongshim sets up first. I think for both these two compositions, being to the objective first is a really big deal. Look at the zone control to come through here, but there's no Leandris yet on Calyx, so he doesn't really bother Owner too much.
Yep, and you've got Jiu now positioned in the mid lane. Doran on a flank angle as the rest of Nongshim just going to move down to welcome him to this fight. It might give Owner a bit of an angle here, as Shock Blast will be avoided. The rest of T1 just not wanting to overextend. The ebb and flow here as Calyx looks for a flank angle. He is spotted, and remember, there are rocks, so he can't just use that shifting sands with impunity. Jiu now continuing to get some control here as Smash comes down to collect the wave. And Nongshim still holding on to this one, but it should be a 50-50 as he just gets rid of him. And that is just going to be a bit of a burst onto this Rift Herald, as there it is, it's stolen by Owner. Not going to be able to pick up this Azir with the Impale, and now Gio comes on over. Carrier gonna have to get himself out of there as Lahens does have the ulti, and back in he goes! Oh! Smash gets taken by this Azir, but it's still feats of strength going over to T1. Gideon in a lot of trouble as well as Kingin. Gonna have to try and get out of there, but Faker, there is no way out for the Jace. And now Owner is running from Calyx, but he's got a blast cone, and Faker says, get out. Here's a wall, and step behind it, and they do so.
What a crazy sequence of events there. We have The successful from Gideon, then 5 damage short, because there's no one that can actually damage the objective.
Yep.
Alex can't walk up because they don't have banana brush control, so he can't DPS until it's already too late, which means Owner gets it. I think it was Lahens that autoed that eye, a little bit troll there. And then Lahens, I think, saves this fight because they're not actually able to take down Carrier. Smash goes over the wall, the flash pulverized to take one of the biggest damage, and then, oh,
Giu's just dead. Faker is just going to murder him underneath his own turret.
We don't even get, Lahens?
Okay, he's looking for some sort of angle here, as it's Carrier that he's elected to try and kill. He gets thrown back, though.
No flash.
Oh, Kingin, yeah, he comes on over, but they're not going to risk it because they don't know where Owner is, and we know that Owner was just on his way.
We didn't even get to see my favorite part of the fight, which was Calyx actually holding his ult until the end, then using it, and then Gideon getting the wall slam into the ult, which I always like to see. But I think T1, they were able to get the Herald. They're looking to set up Dragon. And the play itself was fine, but it's the run-off effects of this kill on Giu that, oh my guy.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Yeah, just walked up to cue the cannon. Giu's struggles, unfortunately, do truly continue. Not looking good. Calyx, though, looking great. No notes on him. But Giu not losing in sums in particular as well is really rough. I do like itemization, so that's something. You know, Serpent's Fang is a really good item into T1. There's a lot of shielding between Faker, the Lulu, and the Skarner. But T1 got 2 dragons. They got the bot lane turret. Gold still is relatively even. And the 5v5 was actually looking a lot closer than I was expecting, given how rough that started for Nongshim.
Yep. There is the fact that T1's just being kind of able to take whatever they want. I think Nongshim not prioritizing these dragons at all is a big issue here, because I think a lot of their strength comes from their ability to fight for neutral. As Gideon looking to try and stop Owner from being frustrating, just press a Steadfast Presence, runs really fast, and it is not going to be too much of an issue. Atakan is going to spawn. It's of the voracious variety, because we do not have very much action so far this game. And Lahens is going to have his back stopped, and maybe he is just dead. He does have his ultimate, so it might be that one that needs to be pressed first, but he doesn't even want to do that.
I feel like he should have.
Yeah, I'm going to say that that was an unforced error.
Now, maybe the reasoning is that they can't do Otacon off of it, so if he uses ultimate, then they can Otacon, but it looks like they are just going straight to Otacon.
Yeah, there's a teleport down from Calyx as well, and he could be in trouble. There is no turret here.
I assume he has it at least with that TP angle, but not putting it down just yet. And yeah, Lahen's dying. He's gonna go and make his way over, but Smash
taking a lot of damage. Yeah, exactly right. Otacon is going to soften them up here, as we know.
Yeah,
T1, they're going to back away.
Calyx just finished Leandri's. I don't think Smash was quite ready for that amount of damage. That's a big deal, because that does take all the tempo out of that play. And sets up a... Oh dear. Calyx.
All right, playing with fire here a little bit as Nongshim assume that it's their turn to go for this one. They have so much vision around this area, and now with the Leandris, they have a lot of DPS to try and take this one down as well. No vision given over, as
Gideon has his ult.
A teleport coming in from the Gwen as Lahens gets on top of Smash. The heroic charge comes down, and that is a piercing arrow to execute the Zeri. They're now losing so much of their DPS in this fight, as now Kingin positions behind his team, and we're flipping. We are going to land the Chains of Corruption, and there goes the jungler in support. They'll take the voracious Otacon. Calyx grabs his second against Doran, and Nongshim destroy the team fight.
All part of Lahens' long-term plans, Atlas.
Oh, there it is.
Bait them into a false sense of security by dying, then make sure that they go off the Otacon, then just take the Otacon yourself. Why didn't we see it?
Well,
we were not ready.
Yeah,
well,
we need to be on the same intellectual plane as Lahens for that.
It's this play from Lahens that wins them this fight, right? He walks back out of vision, sneaks behind enemy lines, and then Smash with flash up ends up dying. And then that alone, I felt like maybe with the Otacon debuff was salvageable, but after that ult from Gideon, no salvaging. No, sir. And that means that that soul point, I think, is going to be denied. That means that, just look at the timing here, that's going to be the start of the stacking of dragons for Nongshim, and it's not the end of the world for T1, but this first game, Atlas, what a banger!
It's looking pretty good so far for young Nongshim. We do want to talk about T1 and their control of all of the objectives at the moment. Of course, they have the 5 grubs, the 2 dragons, and Nongshim going to need to continue to press forward.
It's not one.
Yeah, definitely not. And you can see it in the gold. It's like 400 or something like that. But Nongshim can play around this Otacon buff to try and get some more advantages, as Calyx and Faker are going to face off. And Calyx is going to look a little worse for wear as he makes his way up. But
it's
have that needlessly large rod.
Because Faker had a Lulu.
Yeah.
So
Calyx does have
cheating.
a free life as well.
He does, yeah.
That's
so as
helpful.
a Nongshim predictor, how are we feeling so far?
I mean, this is better than I expected, to be honest. As there's an Impale, maybe it's going worse, as Gideon's going to have to flash to get out of the way of that one. Activating Hex Flash, maybe a positive. Now Doran gets into the mist. I don't know about this one, as they evict the jungler, and Gideon is just going to say, that is time for us to take the outer turret.
That was actually really funny. So Doran used the mist, which meant his backline got hit by an empowered shot block.
Yeah, not be blocking
I think they were going to lose control of that turret anyway, but definitely not the intended thing to have happened there. And do note, Nongshim will not be able to use the buff for this dragon. And if if Owner ends up still getting this Drake, you know, if it's a smite fight and they take it, T1 is going to be completely unfazed by what has happened so far because the gold is still even. T1 was able to pick up the feats. T1's composition still skills insanely well. Again, range issues is something we're going to keep going back to, but Nongshim, as well as they've played so far, I don't think have been the most calculating, you know? That's just not really who they are, so I could see a scenario where they don't really use the range to the maximum potential, just kind of run in. But they do get the dragon, and that's a really big deal.
Yep. I think the thing that's impressed me the most is how they've shut down Doran so effectively, even within team fights. The fact that Gideon gets on top of him, presses Steadfast Presence, and then he can't do anything for the entirety of the team fight means that if they are able to kill Smash at the beginning of every fight, he doesn't just get McHale's down to the first CC and run amok, then I think Nongshim should be able to get something done. Calyx, good head on his shoulders there as he sidesteps the From the Darkness seismic shove.
I think he had vision, but he's been playing. This is not the same Calyx that we had last year.
Exactly.
I do want to highlight that. Obviously, it's the first game. As mentioned, I don't think Faker has been nearly as oppressive as he has been many of his other seasons. Thus far in spring is, Jiu.
This is looking somewhat oppressive if you were to ask Jiu his opinion. He does flash away and has the barrier there as well. Headbutt Pulverize onto Owner, but he is looking mighty tanky right now as Smash looking a bit worse for wear. Lehens presses his ultimate button and has to flash away, and that is a lot invested just to get their cow out of the slaughterhouse.
And that matchup was just looking up for Jiu because not due to his efforts, mostly because the team is team fighting well. They'd actually been able to get him back to within touching distance. It was only like 300 gold. Now his sums are down again. Now I don't think Jiu is the main character on this team. That is very much King and Calyx, and honestly even Gideon is, oh my god.
There is some vision here for T1, but they're just over the wall.
They're not clued into this at all.
Yep.
You don't see any pings. It's a T1 Baron!
And
they're getting T1s!
Oh, look at all of the vision that they avoided.
It's gone!
It's just gone. It's just gone. They are masterminds. They are using T1's strategies against them. Now they're going to get the idea of what's going on, but there goes the Baron, and Lehens says, Owner, get the heck out of here. They might lose their Alistair, but I don't think they're too worried about that one, as goodbye Gwen. And the Impale is going to skewer him, but I mean, you can eat a kebab, but you're not going to win this game. I got to stop making the steak references. I really do.
I just needed the second to parse that one. I'm like, what? Kebabs? What? That's too expensive for a kebab, okay? Are you giving up a Baron? That's not worth.
That's the Wagyu kebab right there. But yeah, no, it's...
why would you do that?
Exactly, why would you?
There's so much spices, you can barely taste it. There's no point.
It's very true. However, sometimes you go for it.
Well, T1 clearly, it's the tourist trap. You know, you're like, man, I'm here anyway. You know, it looks so nice. Don't do it.
Well, now with the Baron, Nongshim are looking to augment that by increasing this Rebel Baron power play. Already up to 2K, so they've got a little bit already in the tank as far as the extra money is concerned. We'll see how many of these turrets they'll be able to take down. Overextending into T1 going to be a dangerous proposition, but remember, this is the comp with all of that range. If they can hold T1 at bay, this Baron could do so much work, and already Calyx getting to it on this top side.
Ooh. And as you highlighted, I do think that we talked a lot about Faker. I think this game he has been having a great impact on Celia. A lot of impact in side lanes, looking a lot cleaner.
Yeah. They're getting engaged on. There's a free double pulverize there as Doran pulls himself over. Seismic Shove doesn't get Gideon over the wall as he flashes away. Some knockouts coming on through here as Smash has already grabbed a kill, and Ona, he comes on in, but Lehens has got an unbreakable will, and he's basically immortal. Kingen gonna take down the Scorpion and gets rid of Smash. Still, they're able to take down this Jason. Every kill that T1 gets is worth so much more because they're getting rid of the Barons.
Oh, that was very, very close in many occasions. In the end, I think T1, as you say, going to be happy with that trade 2 for 2. As, Calyx, he is not, should be afraid, I do think.
Yeah, there were no rocks on the ground, so he's able to shift his way out.
Never mind, trying to get the most out of that buff. Kingen, don't be fooled by the KDA. Is really going God mode in this one. So there's a lot that happens here. Initially, it looks like a nice setup, but a lot of damage does go into the Skarner specifically here. Was able to make his way over the wall, and then that flick from Faker forces out the ult from Lehens, basically kills Gideon.
Wild growth as well.
And then the this time around, Smash actually with a really nice angle in the fight. Then Kingen murders the Skarner as he gets impaled, but this wall from Faker locking in means that locking in Kingen means that he ends up dying. I think Calyx was actually looking for more there.
Whoa! Gee, what are we doing? We are baiting out the enemy team as they push Owner in. Billy's looking for Jiu, and maybe this is why Jiu is playing like a plastic bag for the early game, to set up for the greatest bait of all time.
Well, he fooled us, so of course he also fools T1.
All right, well, Calyx has got out of there and in there at the same time. Still
a second Infernal Drake happens.
Yeah, second Infernal going to go over to Nongshim. I want to just consult the gold lead just for a moment. It's only 2,000. At 30 minutes into the game, that means basically nothing. But Ona being on the floor here is a bit of a problem. Let's have a look at this once again. My goodness, we're going fishing.
It actually is just straight up Geo being dangled.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even subtle. There's a TP, Lehens is on a flank, Gideon is standing by in the brush, and they knew they were going to be there because the dragon was spawning, so they knew if Geo, again, without flash, was like 15 seconds. That's too tasty of a bait, Atlas. You got to go for that.
You certainly do. And now he has flash, and he didn't even die.
And he still has only died once this game. That's the craziest part to me.
Yeah.
I don't think he's played well by any means, but he's only died once.
Yep. Not a full-on liability, but certainly hasn't been the carry of this game. That has been Kingen once again. Calyx still 3-0-2. The young gentleman with his cool hourglass put together as well.
But look at that. I think once Smash hits a 4th item, well, a lot of these fights have been pretty drawn out. If Smash isn't dealt with early on in the fight, as soon as he finishes that item, there is no shot that Nongshim will still have the damage. We also haven't really seen him lean into the range advantage too much.
Oh, Kingen, we got a bit of a zoom in here as the Shock Blast goes wide. Very close. Nongshim still wanting to make sure that this Death Rush is still there. Faker moves in, wanting to see if he can find a Seismic Shove, but Lehens and the rest of Nongshim playing around the vision that they already have set up, really protecting this control ward that T1 really want to get rid of. Just look at this topside vision. There is some vision still there for T1. You can see that control ward in the top Tri-Brush. A scary one with double teleports, both up and oh god. Carrier he's dead if he's hit by another. Okay, well, he's going to go home. And Nongshim then going to have some control. I think that Carrier also did want to go back, collect more wards and things like this, go for a bit of a reset. Anyway, that's probably what he's going to be saying to himself, but that is looking dangerous. And this is what we're talking about, right? Those Shock Blasts, you don't need to commit anything, apart from a bit of mana that you're not really worried about, and it's a 4-item Jace. Cyrilda's already done.
T1, all they want is it done? IE on Smash, there it is.
Oh, wow.
Smash. Last fight was good. The other fight's just a little bit too trigger happy, got focused on early. A composition for T1, particularly with Doran as far behind as he is, does rely on him actually doing this. Kingen!
Oh dear.
Doran!
There's some mist. Doran gonna have to get out of there. As Kingen, did he hit another one? Because I was busy focusing on the lady running with scissors, which you should never do. As Nongshim just gonna walk back, head towards this very dark Baron pit.
Love to see it.
All right, you can see the rest of Nongshim, they're going to move on over. There is a Scry's Orb, just to make sure that they're not taking this Baron down. And Calyx and Gideon take that as an invitation. Lahens, he could be the target. He does have to use the ult to get out of the Impale. Flick back there as well as they are committing to this Baron. Doran's getting over there, but I don't know whether they're going to be able to do this in time, as Owner is relatively low and they're still on this Baron. Owner is going to have to flash out, but there goes Calyx, and it's Smash that's being the hero. The Baron will be locked down by Nongshim, and now they really want to get out of there. Oh, that wild growth from Carrier says no to King, and Jiu's on the wrong side of the map. Gideon, the last Baron left standing, as he's going to get the flick. There goes the kill, and T1 right back in the driver's seat.
They clean aced them! That's game!
That should just be game over.
Ah!
Okay.
Not even close, Atlas.
Yeah,
this was...
yeah. They were in control the whole time.
All along. There was no worry whatsoever.
Nope.
I did not expect the Infinity Edge power spike to be that big a deal. As they do not...
Well, actually tanking a little bit.
It's too much.
I don't think Calyx is going to be able to kill this minion wave.
Well, you will.
And they got 5 grubs.
There's the next one, right? The next one is Kongan in. That's just it.
Yep. They're just going to be able to execute these turrets. Down goes the Nexus as well, and T1 just rip victory from the jaws of defeat in game 1. I don't think that there's going to be too much celebrating in the T1 booth after that one, but a win is a win, Chronicler.
Just come down to Nongshim underestimating how quick T1 could get there, overestimating their own damage on Baron. Because clearly they thought, even if they go in, it was a split call, right?
Yeah.
They were like, we sacrifice Lahens, we get out. This time it doesn't work. Kingen also trying to go in. He does have so much damage, but with the wild growth, that just doesn't end up working out. My takeaways, T1 still look frazzled. They won this game, but the way in which they did it wasn't very convincing. Calyx looks great in his first game back, and Kingen and Gideon, unfortunately, not able to actually get the team to the win, but what a first game here. Yeah, just amazing. I think the biggest problem for Nongshim is Jiu, even though he did do a fair bit of damage, it was not nearly as much as what Kingen was able to provide. And I thought Calyx's damage was going to be higher. Kingen, though, no notes. Yep. 2 thumbs up. No, played a fantastic game. He did also do a lot of dying for damage maximization, which I do really appreciate, you know? 100% respect. That's cool. If we, if like somewhere there's a Huni that's really present. Gwen doing only 1.5k more damage than the Skarner, not ideal. Yeah, Gwen being the corpse dragged across the line is really a weird situation here. As it's time for us to take a short break. When we get back, the Space is going to break it down and we'll have game number 2. See you there.
치고 있는 거 같은데? 그럼 되게 나가면 한번 써볼게 이거. 안 하면 써봐. 나랑 없어. 일단 알리부터.
알리부터
알리 너무
알리
알리
땡겼어 땡겼어. 크게 뛰어볼래?
알리 잡았어 일단.
이거 두고 보자 두고 보자.
피 많아 피 많아.
할만해 천천히.
나 들어와 있어.
야나 위로 뚫게 아래 조심 아래 조심.
나 위에 가는 중.
얘 아직 나 때릴 거야. 아직 나 때릴 거야.
오케이. 알았어. 알리 잡았어.
왼쪽 빠져.
바로 말로.
아 못해. 쌈봐.
땀 봐야 돼 땀 봐야 돼.
할만해. 베니
이거 살격 해볼래?
오케이. 높이야 형.
아 되거든.
아 내가. 형나 봐봐. 다 믿어.
여기 밀어간다 우리.
가거든.
둘이 차해.
오케이. 오 나이스.
알았어. 미드 가면 끝내자.
Anything at all, if you're watching from work, let us know. Let us know that you're being productive and also sharing a little bit of attention with the LCK. That's what we love to see here. As it is going to be a blue side Kalista ban, not wanting to risk it against a player that's pretty good at the Caitlyn. In fact, T1 kind of awash with Caitlyn aficionados. As the Yone also going to be taken away here. So Victor. So we are skipping a few of the OPs, as only Kalista really from that list has been taken away so far. The Vi, almost always a red side second place ban. T1 don't often like sticking to the script though, so might be thinking about some other spice.
So Vi, Xin Zhao, I was going to say Rumble, but Rumble also taken off the board. The next in line would be things like Mbessa, but people have been pretty happy to just play into Mbessa.
Yeah.
Even though the pick is still very clearly top tier, does have some counters that seem to do well into it. As yeah, Faker, you know, the one at the top of the reboot I think was necessary. After that, I don't think you need to update. Like, clearly everything was up to date in that last game.
It was feeling pretty good.
For what feels like the first time in at least the LCK, I think LCK Cup was a different story, but LCK thus far has been a slow start for the GOAT, as Mbessa does get taken away here. Xin Zhao seems like a no-brainer here. Sejuani is another. So kind of going to signify what Gideon would rather do. And I like this. I think owner Sejuani is still crazy. But T1 are the team that uses Xin Zhao the best out of, I think, possibly any team that we have, because the all-in potential, the ability to re-engage fights and split them up when it's brawly, when it's skirmishy, when you have these long, drawn-out back and forths, the owner just plays it incredibly well. So I think this is a good call-out. Then it's probably going to be the Sejuani is a definite lock-in. And then we are getting towards the, you know, slightly less broken top laners. There's still a lot, and we'll see what Doran is going to be looking towards.
It is, for me, Camille and Jax that are kind of on my mind at the moment, as both of them synergize exceptionally well with the Sejuani if they want to play around that top side. Of course, if they're playing in a top 2v2, generally the Xin Zhao is very strong. And Doran now wanting to have a little bit of safety up there as the Gnar is going to be picked. A very comfortable blind, but doesn't really, you know, reek of excitement and happiness.
It doesn't spark joy.
No, not a lot of joy sparking.
It's fine. What this does do is give the possibility, if Nongshim do pick a mid laner, to get counterpick for Faker. That is, yet Gnar is already picked.
Gnar Sejuani has some pretty good ults already being represented. And you could see Calyx counting there. He did 1, 2. He was like, that's 2 good ultimates. Let's do it. He locks it away. I don't know whether that's what he was doing at all.
That's what it felt like.
It is what it looked like.
Also, now you still get Ashe Sejuani.
Hey,
just with extra steps.
There you go. As Renata is going to be picked away potentially.
Blind, like and then they're going to. Well, I was about to say, and then they're going to ban Nico, but it looks like they are not going to do so just yet. Ryze is going to get picked up instead here for Faker.
Oh my god, this is one of the like most classic combos of T1 from years past, and that is Ryze and Gnar picked together.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where you're like one of Faker's most iconic. I'm like, I don't think that's true at this point anymore.
It has sort of run around a little.
There are a little bit too many of those. Azir is the big one, but that one is obviously taken off the board. The Nautilus, the Braum taken away. That does signal to me that they are, in fact, not picking Renata on 4 and are going to just save counterpick for Keria. Probably pick up an 80 carry for Smash here. This is looking very Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
I also think Nongshim know that.
It's looking Zyrie too. So the Rakan is going to be banned. I actually think that's really smart.
The downside to Kai'Sa, obviously, is that the lane into Ashe can be quite tough. You have a lot of setup, so I think that both MF and Jhin make a lot of sense. Jhin does well on the follow-up, and Jhin is obviously also quite solid in lane. Then again, so is MF. So I feel like both of these do make a lot of sense. I think the one downside to MF is that actually getting a full ult off into both Ashe and Zinzao, I think, can be a little hard. Zinzao also is able to just function regardless of that. And then what Leona here, I think, makes a lot of sense given that the Braum has already been taken away. And it also cancels the ultimate from the MF really reliably.
Galio would be very Lehens if they were to lock that one in.
Is it going to be King and GP?
Oh god, yeah, create the
Into
Thunderdome, make the circle.
Right?
Let it rip, baby.
MF ults and you just...
Say no?
You say no. Because there's no shot that the Galio is not going support, right? You're not picking Galio into...
Unless you are taking Sylas top. Yeah.
Oh, that could be the angle. Yeah, Sylas top. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. So it's Sylas top for King in here, which early on is rough. But yeah, post 6, obviously, you have...
And so many of our top laners have been practicing Sylas in solo queue recently. Like, this is not like a new thing. This is something that people have been waiting to bring out for quite some time. And it was an OG pick into the Gnar many moons ago as Carrier diving towards his Nico of old. This is a champion that he's found a lot of success on in the past, but it was often in Kalista lanes. So he would often have a whole lot of extra pizzazz to play around post 6. And we'll see whether he's going to be just as deadly with MF at his side.
These setups, kind of crazy. Love Zinzao Galio. That one is a classic for a reason.
I am very worried about Pop Blossom being picked into Sylas.
Yeah, okay, so, well, Sylas already had like 50 builds.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm with you, though. So, the Nico, to me, I think the idea is, obviously with the clone, you can catch cocoons. You also are playing into 2 short-range characters. Both Elise and Ashe kind of need to walk up, where Nico can really abuse the fact that she has a generally great time when she's not severely outranged, which isn't the case here. And then we also have the top lane matchup to look forward to. When it comes to the skirmish, though, like the 3v3 of Galio, Zinzao, Sylas, that's a little disgusting, Atlas. That's a lot of gameplay power that is there. The side lane impact from Ryze is also matched. Ryze does obviously outskill the Galio, so a lot of intricacies, a lot of interesting decisions being made as we go into the game number 2.
Yeah, and a different story when it comes to range and things like that. I feel like both teams are pretty similar. Maybe Nongshim with a slight advantage there, but it's not going to be the same situation as what we saw in game 1. I still think Nongshim looking absolutely fine, but they looked fine in game number 1 as well. We'll see whether T1 can close this one out or whether Nongshim are bringing us to 3. Double Poros, what does it mean? It's both teams making their way out onto the rift. It is blue side for Nongshim this time. As T1 setting up the defense. And Gio moving down with Lehens as they do clear out this ward. And they are just going to park themselves down here. So no one getting too much deep vision or any level 1 shenanigans or anything like that, as OMG, couple of Poros walking past one another, and Calyx going to get some vision down. Onus seeing it immediately. Grats on the extra gold.
Nicely implemented OMG there. Very subtle.
Mm-hmm. All right.
2 Sejuanis. It is kind of crazy.
It is. And now there's 2 Fakers. Now there's 2 Smashes. Don't you think it's kind of cool that, you know, Smash is playing for T1 and one of T1's most famous AD carries is called Bang. We've got onomatopoeias as, you know, T1 AD carries. It's kind of dope.
Yeah, it is dope. I have nothing to add.
Yeah.
Good thought.
Thank you. I've had good thoughts before, and I'm glad that there's proof now that I had a good one. Thanks to you for recognizing it. Awkward conversations aside, let's have a look at how this bottom lane is going to go, as Lehens is going to be throwing down some Qs, trying to get some damage down. As you can see, Smash getting electrocuted here by the Elise. The Spiderlings being frustrating. There's good volley, but T1 are giving back as much as they're getting here, as Kingen moving up towards Dora and just missing the chains there, as we can see, but able to Kingslayer over the level 2 spike. Looking good for the Sylas, as the Boomerang does go wide.
Imagine how to trade... Oh, I was about to say, if he hits the chain...
Yeah, and he does. That's the solo! And the flash down for Doran! Okay, Kingin.
Yeah, Doran did escape a lot of what I'm sure would have been some rough criticism had this team not won the last game.
Yeah.
This, to me, is more egregious because in the last game he was focused heavily, right? There was at least a lot of reasons for why he was in the position that he was in. The map was being split kind of against him. We saw Owner, you know, mostly paying his attention towards the bot lane as...
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
It's
no flash.
It's gone from bad to worse, ladies and gentlemen, as Doran's level 3, and he's just dead. Gideon, was that like a level up? Oh no, he got the triumph proc. Oh God, okay. Yep. Yeah, that couldn't be going worse. He didn't blow the teleport, there's that. He just walked it back.
Yay!
So there's the silver lining. I was looking for it. It was hard to find, but I got there in the end.
Hooray for small miracles, Atlas.
Yep. Calyx also having a rough time, as Faker got the counter pick and looks pretty good as well. And up towards the top lane again, the 2-0 Silas with a couple of items compared to an empty green bottle.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Calyx that picked us into the Rise, right? Because they picked us.
Oh right, yeah, you're true. Yeah, you're right.
Which makes this also a little bit rough for Calyx. Now, I do think that you picked the Galio not because of the early matchup. It's mainly so that you can match the impact in side lane. And I do think post first back, you should be in a position that's a lot better as...
Well, oh man, he was just confused.
Did you say what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it sounded like to me. He's level 2.
확인해. 나이스.
Oh.
Doesn't even
man.
flash, Gideon, by the way.
Yeah, just walked it off and then had a giggle. So things looking pretty good for Nongshim towards the top side of the map. 500 gold, the lead as a result. And Doran hitting Mega now, but it's really feeling like things are real rough here on the top side of the map. King diving in once again.
They're not getting better, Atlas, because the biggest advantage you have in this matchup, I'd argue, is the first 6 levels.
Yep.
Before Silas has his ult, because you're actually able to...
Yeah, you can ult Na when Na can't ult.
Yes, and again, oh my god, this wave state. Oh, this is so bad.
So.
And Owner is at least on the top half of the map, so we'll see if he can fix the wave. But so it's also because with Silas, once you get enough ability haste, like the chain is basically just not on cooldown.
Oh god, if he lands another chain, and it could be all over, as Owner is coming on up, and Kingen not overextending. Oh, unless he is. Yeah, he is. He's just going to get executed. Owner comes in and takes that one as a freebie. Maybe a bit of an overextension there from good old Kingen.
Doran is just repeating the game plan of Chiyu last game.
The ultra bait strategy?
The ultra bait where you're like, okay, he's already died twice. He's just not playing well today. Q, Owner arriving. Jokes aside, Owner does actually save the lane there, because that lane was frozen by Kingen in an abhorrent state. And Owner really nicely done here as well. Look at the positioning there. Actually setting up in a way where he's not visible at all. And is also in range to go for the Q flash. Nicely done. Means that, again, Kingen's still ahead. I still think this matchup is looking roughest. Woo!
Flash traded here in the mid lane as Calyx tidies up the minion wave. Gets some priority there as well as Gideon takes the first grub out of the first set. Q not going to get doubled up on here in this top lane as we do have the swap occurring. And Gideon should be able to lock down the remaining grub here. So that is first feat of strength of the warfare variety. As Gideon now going to take himself a crab. And we've got a fake misfortune waiting in the brush. Slahen's going to see that one come on through. T1 with the information, still going to get tagged by the volley. Slahens comes up towards the top side of the map. And the gold entirely even. It does feel like the map is being controlled by Nongshim. And this is also a very sneaky Gideon moving into the enemy jungle. Lahens going to join him there as well as Owner and Carrier looking to rotate around. A possible sandwich angle here is only level 5 for Gio as well.
Alex has his ult. They should know it. They should know at this point, though. But maybe not. We'll see. I don't think they're ready.
Yeah, Owner gonna get spotted here, but does spot out the rest of Nongshim as well as Lahens doesn't need to move up, has his spiders taken down. As another taunt coming on through. Remember, these mid laners do not have flashes available. As Faker plays the do-si-do with Calyx. Winds of War going to go wide.
Woo. Yeah, with Merc Treads, Calyx doing way better.
Yep.
The 1v1, and we still saw both of them shadowing towards the top half of the map, because Faker also clearly knew that something wasn't quite
Flash.
okay. Woo, Carrier. I assume not having his clone available, not able to get rid of that. And again, that's the counter pick.
Yeah, nicely played here by Jiu so far, who is kind of licking his wounds from the last game. Cannon is going to be taken successfully here by Smash. T1 doing fine here as far as this duo lane is concerned, but I might be saying that a little bit too
flash.
soon. And
Hello.
yeah, Jiu is going to get spotted. And Wanda's on out.
They know.
But remember, yeah, Lahens is there, does manage to get the cleanse this time around as the repel going to avoid the snare coming on through from Carrier as Doran with the Nah just flashes on top of Kingin. Can he get the ult off? The answer is yes, as Doran's tanking it up and will go down. A 1-for-1 under the bottom outer turret.
You'll take that if you are Kingin, Doran. The flash invested, meaning that it's a trade up. Also, I am just wondering if you know that the Elise is there, which it seems like they clearly did.
Yep.
We shouldn't be walking up and having our cleanse burned for no reason.
He was very committed to standing in that brush, we have to admit.
It is
Let's have a look at
Lahens.
this one once again. I think this is just Kingin being 2-0 and being too, like, beefy to take down. Has he even got the Kingslayer off? You can see there.
Doran
just before.
I think he could have just walked it off. I don't think he had to stay there, because Kingin obviously was going to try and look for the Gnar. You saw him pick the ult at the beginning of that play. Doran's struggles continue. Even with that kill, the 1-for-1 trade, not what you're looking for when you pay that much attention towards the play.
Once again, a dragon that has gone pretty much ignored.
It's
One
rude,
ward on it. Yeah.
frankly.
Especially after we've been talking up the fact that dragons have been very, very strong. We saw that in the stats, in the pre-show.
And stats never lie, Atlas.
Not ever.
Notoriously.
That's all right. Smash and Carrier up against just a lonely Jiu right now, because Lahens is having a bit of a journey. He will be moving towards the top side eventually, as the next round of grubs in 30 seconds time could be our next point of contention. Gideon and Lahens looking to gang up on Faker here in the mid lane, whose flash is still not off cooldown. There's the taunt. That is going to mean a free cocoon. Gideon should be able to come on over, as never mind. Faker, that phase rush, able to run it off.
Yep, has Mercs as well, so the CC not quite that long. Big thing there was that Gideon's damage wasn't there.
Yeah.
If he's there, he definitely have enough to take down the Rise, but not going to be the case. Faker obviously sitting on a good amount of MR, but not a lot of armor yet. I'm sure eventually Rise, as we all know, will become a turret as King, and
I've seen this one before, as in the meantime, we've got some grubs taken as well. Teleport back in from Faker, but it should be the first grub being taken at least. It's the rest of T1 wanting to fight for this. 3 versus 3, but it's a flanking Lahens. And Calyx is lying in wait as well. So 5 grubs going to be the answer. The arrow goes entirely wide, as there is a cocoon to interrupt the bullet time. Ona now getting a bit of a heal as the knockup comes through with the Pop Blossom. Still the heroic charge not going to be enough, and Carrier will be the answering kill. Calyx grabs that one, and there's a Justice Punch onto Faker. Lahens looking for a little bit more, as they want to take the Realm Warp out, as the taunt doesn't work. And Faker gets everyone to safety. Apart from, unfortunately, Carrier, who died earlier.
I'm not sure. I have to see in the replay. Either Calyx's taunt was a split second too late, or Owner cancelled it with Q.
I know the taunt went off, but
it did go
Faker
off?
wasn't in it.
Got you, okay.
It just taunted other people and not the Rise.
Man, that both ways could have gone very poorly. Very thin margins on that fight, kind of continuing what we've seen in the series thus far. As we take another look here, Lahens on the flank is spotted, but doesn't stop him. That arrow missing is crucial. That goes on to Owner. I think the fight looks a lot less close. But Lahens getting the interrupt into Smash and basically 1v1ing the MF, taking it out of the fight, is a really big deal. And then even though Gideon dies, Carrier still ends up going down. Take another look here.
Oh, right on the edge of the taunt.
Yep.
My goodness.
If he gets tagged by that, they probably all die. And
Yeah.
the game is looking very differently. Instead, it is still 6, like Nongshim still won that, right? 6 reps for them. They end up getting the Dragon as a little extra gift as well, which gets them feats.
Yeah. And now a couple of plates going to be traded here, as at least Smash getting a little bit of an advantage. Stu coming on up, but isn't able to actually get very many of these pesky minions. So they're in a bit of an awkward spot. Lahen's going to turn up, though, and they're looking to play aggressively. They will get the cleanse out of Smash immediately. Cocoon going to land there as well, as Stu's just walking at him. Frost shot going to connect. The volley's going to land as well, and there is nothing they could do about it. That's a huge knock from Kingen, who's just diving the turret. Ulti going to miss as Kingen will go down in the 1v1, but Ona now will find Gideon, and that's going to even it out for T1. They'll take a little bit more. Wind becomes lightning. There's a nice little heal there from Gideon as he's just fighting as best he can, but the damage is going to be there from Ona. Carrier now pushed underneath his turret as Calyx and Faker, they need to do something exciting as well, because there is crazy stuff happening all over the map.
And as so often is the case, Owner, the shining light that salvages what looked really rough there for a situation that looked rough for T1. The play onto Doran, it's definitely hard-forced, right? Kingen is already low, so him taking aggro, it feels like a necessity because of the fact that he needs to go in for the ult, but the timely arrival of Owner here ends up guaranteeing the 1v2. It's been in the right place in the right time. Still, though, topside play was a win for Nongshim, right? So it's a 2 for 2 across the board by the end of it, and the woes for Smash and Carrier kind of continue. I feel like the Nico counterpick thus far hasn't really made its mark, and Smash has had some cleanse mishaps and actually ends up going down there as well.
Yeah, and so now we've got a Cloud Drake coming up in 3 minutes' time. The Rift Herald should be the next thing on the cards. As 1.5 minutes for that one on the top side is Kingen versus Faker.
Alex, oh,
yeah, that Scry's Orb was real nice.
Woo. So that one coming, not going to be caught off guard, and T1's going to be happy, obviously. As
oh, trying to predict a hop, but it doesn't actually happen there from Lahen's. Trying to get into the head of his previous teammate.
Yeah, so Faker did pick this as a counterpick into Sylas. So if this is the lane assignment,
yeah, this is kind of optimal T1.
He's very happy. Yeah. And also Rise at times has been a top laner, you know, so we know he can.
Keen would definitely argue that he's a top laner.
Yeah. Yeah, Keen also thinks Urgot is still relevant, which I want to be true. Let me be clear.
As a Blippo fan, so do I.
Yeah, it's fun. I love Urgot. I think he's such a fun champion when he works as...
Oh, Carrier not going to quite find it. Immediately has to flash the arrow that Jiu is going to throw at him. Good heads-up play there. Not going to just assume, as they do miss a cannon. So that's a -1 in the chat, please.
Even though Ashe and Varus are so similar, Jiu's performance is really a night and day situation. It's kind of crazy. He's actually been able to keep his summoners up or use them in a situation that didn't, you know, involve him making a big mistake. As Doran is in an awkward spot here.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. He's going to try and hop away, but that's a really nice cocoon. As Calyx kind of out of CC for now, and so Doran with the extra movement speed going to be able to get himself out of there. Does have his Trinity Force now done, as well as Merc Treads that look extraordinarily important. As in comes Carrier, pretending to be Owner.
Well, the Herald is spawning though, so like he's still going to have to invest his TP to kind of salvage this situation. As
I would, if I was Kingen,
I actually like this from T1. Because they are, instead of trying to contest, which I think should be quite hard with Doran being as low as he is, they're just setting up as, oh, it doesn't spot.
Yeah, all right. We'll see whether Kingen's going to be able to ward them off.
Tough.
He really wants someone to pick up turret aggro before he throws out the ulti, but there's Smash with an ulti of his own. He finds it.
Chains!
As Smash gonna have to flash for it, and he does pick up the kill. I don't think he had to flash for it. Maybe that I said that wrong. However, he did flash for it, and it did result in a kill. Still, outer turret falls on the top side of the map. T1 going to be able to grab the outer on the bottom side, but if this inner turret goes down, Nongshim are going to win out on the play. Still, they're able to defend, and Gideon is able to take the Rift Herald as Lahen's taking a lot of damage. Teleport in from Faker is going to get him towards this top side. There goes the Spider, squished like a bug. But still, it is the Galio being able to make it out relatively safe. I say safe, as they do get the taunt onto Faker here. Pop Blossom comes out from Carrier, who was pretending to be owner there as the arrow is going to connect. Now Faker's in trouble, and Gideon, with the ulti running, is seeing what he can get done here. There's Kingen to lock down the first one. Chains land onto owner, smash taken down as well. Kingen, an absolute monster on this Sylas. And Doran cannot catch up here as Carrier going down exceptionally low, or at least looking like he did as he was transformed. Still, Calyx is going to fall, and Doran looking to try and get out. Win just barely not becoming lightning there. And Kingen, you can see, just desperately wanting to get another one, but isn't able.
This series has been so many of these skirmishes that just makes you go, oh, who's winning?
Yeah, this is crazy.
I am still quite unsure, as initially this looks like a way too aggressive overforce here from Calyx and Gideon, but when you see the TP, it starts to make a little bit more sense. Crucially, a lot of damage goes into Faker, and he is quite beefy. So the beginning of this fight, I think, really looks quite rough, but the CC from Calyx in this whole sequence ends up being, I think, one of the big reasons why it's even close. Smash ends up going down. And the fact that Carrier doesn't die is a big deal, as now we're not done fighting.
Yeah, Ona lying in wait. We've got a Rift Arrow coming down as well, as it is going to be Gideon controlling the ulti, controlling the dragon, sorry. Now they're going to have to possibly get themselves out of here. Let's see whether they can. It's Pop Blossom from Kingen going to come on through. Down goes Doran before he can do anything at all. And T1, I think it's probably just time to cut your losses and get out of there. Lehens is looking juicy, but I don't think T1 are going to be able to do too much more. Just controlling the mid lane as best they can. Cocoon going to land. Lehens, I don't know about this. Gideon also very, very low. As the Hawk Shot coming on through, and we've got some backs being channeled.
Nongshim are not afraid. I think sometimes they should be, but they're not.
Yeah.
Playing on the razor's edge there, very far forward, as both top laners are trying to outdo each other for who can die the most. Doran currently ahead. As we take a look, nice smite there by Gideon. And it's, I can't believe this works. Doran bone blading down, feels he's safe because he almost has Mega, and then he just dies just before he can hit it. Nice ult there as well from Kingen to make sure that the rest of his team can go in on Doran. Doran also forced a sidestep. And it's not clean, but I'm having a really good time.
Me too. I have no idea what the outcome of this game is going to be, but looking at the 1-1 for all three of the bottom side of the map players from Nongshim is cathartic. So that's what I'm focusing on here, as Lehens trying to find a carrier.
So I do think Nongshim are looking a lot more rough in the scaling department than they were in the previous game. I think previous game was very even. This time around, the bot lanes, I think, are a bit more even, but when you look towards the top side of the map, you are not feeling super. Silas obviously feels great, but I do think can struggle into the amount of CC that's available on T1. And then Xin Zhao, Galio, really pick them for, if this game ends up going for like 15 more minutes, which I thought the last game was going to, and then that one ended very abruptly. What I do think Nongshim can do is get Chemtech Soul, because that is disgusting on this team. Yeah,
I was going to say, like, Ox, you are off the hook this time around. There are a lot of, like, champions on both sides, in fact. Like, Doran maybe wouldn't have died in that last fight if he had a Chemtech Soul and would have been able to utilize it, right? Like, there's a lot of value that you can get. Mainly for Nongshim, as you were saying. Of course, Sylas and the Xin Zhao absolutely love it. T1 looking to defend their outer in the mid lane. It's only one turret picked up on the bottom side of the map here for T1, and on the top side for Nongshim, as Carrier seeing whether he can defend his control ward. Not going to quite be able to there, but they at least get rid of the enemies. As Duke just getting control here, doing that back and forth in the mid lane as Kingen coming on over. Still with a level advantage, but you can see the gold lead is gone for the Sylas.
Woodsand coming through for Doran, obviously going to be feeling great in both side lanes.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if Faker picks up something like a Banshees as well. And there's also the fact that there's a lot of beefy members on T1. The percentage health damage on Nongshim is Lehens' Q.
Yeah.
Which notoriously is not a good ability. Human Q is probably one of the worst abilities in the game.
Hey, but Spider Q also does percentage health
Spider
damage.
Q is great, but you do need to get them low.
Yeah.
Remember when Elise was a top laner because Human Q was
just
busted?
broken? Yeah. And you'd just play her like Karma, just spam Q at the opponent.
Yep.
I do remember that. That was when it was just very obvious. She was overtuned to a ridiculous degree.
Oh, no, we'd never do that.
No. Making it rain here in the mid lane. Gio just ignoring it. And Gideon is going to show up here. Only going to get spotted. Hawkshot going to have a lot of value this game as well as Carrier. Possible Pop Blossom angle. He is doing pretty well controlling both the clone and himself to make sure that he keeps Nongshim on their toes. Oh, high value dash cannon there.
This is both just being annoying.
Yeah.
Lance also knows that no one should be walking up, that is an actual threat as doesn't get the cancel just on the edge there. We do have Faker already sitting on 2 items. That's one other one of the small gold leads that we have. Calyx really wants to finish his next one. In terms of stacks though, Calyx is a little ahead as Runans now for Gio. That 3rd item spike is going to feel amazing when he hits it. Right now, MF, I think feeling a lot more dangerous unless Gio gets completely untouched in these fights. And he needs to do a good amount of damage output because the amount of MR on the enemy team is very substantial.
Yes. All right.
Roll on number 1.
We are just starting the Otacon.
I don't love this.
No, neither do I. It's a little bit scary.
Do this a good amount of times. Oh, he does get the cancel in the back. That is nice. Means Faker, but comeback, he's still at 2 items. So is it just gone?
Well, it's down to 4,000 health.
Just
They're
gone.
focusing it, and yeah, I don't know whether Owner's going to be able to get it here. He does, and he steals it away. Highway robbery here from T1 is now Gideon. Gets the, King gets the flash in. They take down the Nico immediately. There's the knock-up onto Faker. He is completely taken out. And now Lehens, he will be taken by Doran, but Faker is still in trouble, and there is the taunt to finish him off. Doran goes down as Gio gets his hands on this Gnar, and over the wall comes Calyx, or at least he tries to. Not going to be able to there, and they'll settle for a kill under the misfortune. Only Owner left standing. How many of these petals were they actually able to pick up, though? That's the big question, as there are a lot of them strewn all around the place, and the 3rd Drake going to be picked up here by Nongshim.
Again! A crazy sequence of events here as I thought Owner couldn't get in. He can.
That was
him again.
So sick.
Don't quite have the damage, but this play from King and sets up the fight. A 3-man ultimate.
And with the Otacon little wall there, I think it also stunned Owner.
He did. Yeah, that's hits the 3-man. Then Gio actually lands giving his life. Very nicely done. King installs for a good amount of time. That flash from Smash ends up haunting him because otherwise he just gets out here, flashes over the wall and he's fine. Instead, Gio attacks him with the slow, follows up, and that ends up being the difference maker. Nicely done there again by Calyx.
Oh yeah, Carrier actually coming over here and stealing away a bunch of these petals.
They're basically even. Nongshim, I'm pretty sure, is also or was also at exactly 26.
All right, so not exactly end of the world as in comes Owner, and they are just going to kill Lehens. He does repel, gets onto a Mega Blast Cone, and never mind, they don't kill Lehens, they try to kill Lehens. And Lehens says no. As there's a taunt on to Carrier here, who's dead. That's a colossal smash to the noggin, and instead of Lehens being dead, it's Carrier who's dead. Oh, how the turntables.
This Nico pick is not quite working out, Atlas. As there you go, 32. Okay, for T1, and they did get Otacon, but they also have not gotten.
Yeah, they're not getting the dragon values that the
or
Otacon
the grub
provide.
value. There's no epic objectives. Now Owner can just steal Nash, and then they get...
Right. Yeah, that's actually a really good game plan. Mind control them into taking the Baron. It's Lehens
working.
Possibly in trouble. Smash could be in the wrong spot now, though, as Faker is realm warped in. Gideon engages on top of him. The rest of T1 a little bit too far away, though. And down goes the jungler. Arrow also going to narrowly be hopped here by Doran. And King is in the mid lane, just defending here at the same time. Yeah, there's no smite here anymore. Owner cannot smite when he's dead, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I'm discovering.
That was the game plan!
Oh god, King also has a Gnar ultimate here. Is going to be really dangerous if T1 go for a counter engage. So the Baron is just gone. The bullet time is an attempt, but it's a failure. And the first Baron, once again, here in game number 2, is going to go over to Nongshim.
Last time Nongshim went for a fight that just went completely awry. They started the second Baron and it was a complete disaster. This time though, actually looking a lot more measured. as they try to go in on Lahens, even with the Realm Warp, but Lahens is least. Actually, locking him down is really hard. And Gio, when he's uncontested, can obviously just shred down Owner. But this all goes back to that attempted pick from Keria. Him not having the pop, or him not being there because he doesn't, he's not live, right? Not able to actually show up to the fight, not having the pop loss.
Oh, Owner thinks that he's found an angle, but instead it's Lahens that cocoons him up. The rest of T1 are turning up, but Gideon is ignoring them. When becomes lightning, Owner is going to get taken down so incredibly low as Kingin finds an ulti, Jiu finds an arrow. He knocks it, he takes down Bristle and Sejuani. And now T1 looking to try and defend their inner turret, but these are baroned up minions. These are 6 grubs, and Nongshim are having none of it.
Atlas, by any chance, have you looked at your hands recently?
Yes. Oh man, it's quite moist. I'm not gonna lie, there is game all over these hands, Chronicler.
It doesn't have to be wet. It could just be game.
It is though. It's really warm in here.
As Nongshim, the Gold Blade remains within touching distance. That is important to note. And T1, I do think, still have some scaling elements to look forward to, particularly with that rise. But Faker not been able to have the impact on the rise that he did on the Talia. Doran not doing so hot. Smashing Carrion not doing so hot. This is kind of feeling like a rehash of what happened against Hanwha Life, where Owner was the only one that looked okay, and then eventually even he went down.
Oh god, Faker taking so much damage here. That's 3 damage items here for Calix as he realm warps his way out. The fake smash moves in, which terrified me, I'm not gonna lie. Thankfully there is the Nico Hue on the champion.
The Baron perfectly ends up setting up for the Kentuck Soul.
Yeah.
Nongshim might have actually done it this time around, Atlas.
Well, you say that, and you also often say that curses aren't real, but I want you to be a little bit more careful if you could, because we want to get as much series out of this one as we possibly can. Control ward, making sure that Nongshim are unseen as they do spot Gideon moving on in there. We'll be able to clear out this ward here. As, yeah, T1, I mean, yeah, they're looking to try and get some control here of the top side, but that will not help them get a dragon. It's going to be up in 25 seconds time. Nongshim now able to move on down there. There's a Rift Scuttler coming up at the same time. Kingin is dealing with that minion wave as this one being taken care of by Jiu. And they always have hawk shots and things like this to throw around to make sure they can get something done. As Calix stepping real far forward, but that was a fake carrier, so not going to need to worry about that too much. And T1, they know that they need to fight for this one. In goes Gideon, just deciding to start off the fight. I don't know about that one, as the ulti does come on through, and he does stay alive. But he's going down relatively low. Kingin on a flank angle finds an Gnar ulti once again. He's been so good with these. I think mainly because he likes playing Gnar, and so he's pretty good at it in general. Doran has a Gnar bar in perfect position, though, as Calix gets engaged on. He just goes into his Zhonya's, though. That's going to buy a lot of time here as they take the Soul, and Chemtech Soul is going to help them so much. Look at these health bars already prepared as the Pop Blossom does nothing, but the Gnar does everything from King, and Bullet Time is just going to get immuned by the 2 members of Nongshim, and the Realm Warp does work, but it just tries to buy time. It just tries to get them out of there, and T1 is still going to die. And we are then going to go to 3 games. Here we are, Nongshim. They find the angle here in game 2.
Nongshim got close in game 1, but it wasn't quite enough. The Baron ended up being their downfall. That start of the fight with Gideon getting chunked, I was worried, but I needn't be, as Nongshim knocking down the Nexus.
Amazing stuff. And as far as bounce backs are concerned, good old Jiu in, like, what was it, 5-1 and 9 at the end of that game. His Ashe was pretty good. Missed a few of these arrows, but hit a lot of pivotal ones as well. But Calix, man.
You know, if I thought he was going to do this, I would have been a lot more smug about it. I did not see this one coming. I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah.
What a performance thus far. I think he's died like, what, like 2 or 3 times in the whole... And this has been messy games.
Yeah, in the whole series. He died definitely at least once, but that was really late in the first game, and he died once in that last one as well. And if we're talking about KDAs, he's certainly winning. Still, I think Kingin has been my main character for this series thus far. I think in the early game, his Sylas was absolutely fantastic. And even though there were some hiccups, there was T1 taking some control of the map. Nongshim with that incredibly proactive Baron play, and then just they took the whole game away from T1 after that. They made all of the right map movements. They made sure that they got that Chemtech Soul.
One man foresaw this when no one else did.
Well, one man just decided they'd mix it up this week. I don't know. I was coming into today and I did think that T1 were probably going to take it, even though the day prior I was like, Nongshim got a chance. Maybe I should have been a little bit more smug myself, Chronicler, but perhaps we can just be surprised.
Hey, you might still have the opportunity if they end up winning.
Well, they're going to have to in a red side victory as well, as T1 will have side selection as we move to Game 3 after the space and a break. We'll see you there.
야 태준 동원 태준 동원
나를 누궁해 나를 누궁이야.
야 믿고
야 니코부터 니코 나다 내가 미포 가져 미포
나 한대 따랐고.
야 위에 봐 위에.
위에 볼래? 나 이거 볼 수 있어.
축구래 가자 가도 되지 마
아 여기까지 할게.
가자 라이즈도 높을
받아. 나이스요.
나이스
잘하는데 우리.
현민이 잘한다
잘하는데.
아 이대형인데 어떤 놈이? 이대형인데
야,
범인
이거 미안하다
하자. 범인 누구야?
범인 내 옆에 있어.
범인 미안하다
범인 지우야?
이대형인데요.
범인 찾아봐. 범인 누군데?
형이 범이다 형이
Lock in.
All right, well, we'll see whether they can actually do it, because if we have a look at the facts, T1 have won Game 1 on blue side, Nongshim won on blue side in Game 2, and now T1 have the blue side. So if we're having a look at it from a objective point of view, I mean, it's T1's in the bag. But let's see how these bans are going to change. As once again, it's just going to be the Yone and the Rumble taken away, Vi and Callista also taken away. The victor might make it through this time. There are quite a few things that have now been fearlessly banned away from both of these squads. Who's going to have that flexibility, as the Xayah is going to be the ban here, as Corki was taken away as the final ban. So that means a lot is left up and available here for both teams.
Even that first game, let's not forget, felt like Nongshim for a large part of that was kind of running the show. Well, running the show maybe is a bit much because there was a lot of back and forth, and neither team really looked that clean. But even looking back at that Baron play, that game was not over if, say, Gideon just runs it off, right? Like, actually try to go back in. If one or two members survived, they could have probably helped there. Could have been the difference maker. Could have been looking at a 2-0 for Nongshim here as the Faker Victor gets picked up. His performance on the Talia was amazing. He was kind of invisible on the rise.
Ooh, ban Xayah and then pick the Kai'Sa. That seems like a decent game plan, as that's a lot of power for Calyx as well. Damn, that's a decent 1-2 punch. You can see the young man with a smile on his face after that one.
Is it like Neferi? You gotta pick something that pairs aggressively well with Ari. Xin Zhao is already gone. Vi has been banned, as would be expected. It's like Neferi, Lee, Jarvan. That's kind of what you're looking towards. If they pick up an 80 carry without mobility here, that could... I think Jarvan could actually be an angle.
Well, Sion is going to be a beefy option, as that feels like putting Doran in jail a little
Well,
bit.
he should be. Unfortunately, after those first 2 games, and again, I wanna really give Doran credit where credit is due. I think Doran is generally not being given the respect that he deserved over the last couple of years. Thus far, though, in LCK, he's just not been good, and we know he can be. Right? This is a man that, for good reason, has been winning a good amount of LCK titles, has been known to be a very consistent player, and just getting chain solo killed by Kingen is not really part of that.
No.
As so I like the Viego because it's an owner comfort pick, and also because it picks it away from Gideon. I don't think it really works with this comp at all. So it definitely is something where you really do.
This is what I thought owner was going to pick, actually.
I'm telling you, it's just to deny. Like 100%, because the Viego and Ahri is, I think, one of the best combos when you look at junglers that are actually
the
good.
double resets.
Lee just isn't in a good spot right now, right? We don't even see like Canyon or Lucid or even Owner playing it. I think that says enough. The Nocturne definitely feels worse because it doesn't have the immediate setup for the Kai'Sa. It doesn't have the ability to really go quite as or set up as nicely for the Ahri. You always want something with instant CC, but it does enable you to go for some crazy plays that otherwise you wouldn't be able to. And if Gideon and GU sync up, you have an incredible amount of backline threat later on.
It's a Lehen Shen angle.
It is 100% the Lehen Shen angle. Yeah.
That needs to be banned. That's got to be the last ban.
No, I'm with you, particularly with the Nocturne.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it before, but I'm seeing it now, Atlas.
Yeah, the Shen delivery system certainly going to be there. As there's that 80 carry with mobility going to be banned away. You can, of course, outrange this Kai'Sa pretty aggressively if they go for like a double ranged kill lane in the bottom side. That would also mean that picking the Shen is going to feel a bit worse.
Do you just go Kate Karma?
Yeah, something like that is what I was kind of thinking.
Like
Blitzcrank going to be taken away.
I'm looking. Corki has been banned by T1. That would be another one that I would look to go towards.
Yep. Oh, Rakan, though, is going to be the option.
That's a classic.
Yeah, speaking of classic, Smash, considering the Jinx right now, will lock that one in as the support Graggy. And no, it's not going to be that. It will be the Tahm Kench. So Carrier's famous engaged Tahm Kench coming on through. But it's into Rakan. Isn't Rakan often picked as like an answer to the Tahm Kench? Because, you know, you want to be standing next to each other and stuff.
From a comp perspective, this is like a crazy Kench angle.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you are... Oh, my God. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Oh,
King
God, the GP. And if ever there is an ego pick angle, the GP into Sion from Kingen is certainly looking at that. But also it fits, you know, you've got like a lot of these globals and things like that playing for side lanes with the Nocturne on top of the fact that you have the Cannon Barrage is really going to skew things if they are going to be playing for the late game. Not to mention Killer Instinct from the Kai'Sa as well.
So the T1 comp looks amazing if you can get past the first 20-odd minutes, right? Once you hit 2 items on Victor, once you hit 2 items on the Jinx, you're going to be feeling great. But when it comes to early contest, what do? You're playing as Nocturne Ahri.
You hope that Nongshim play like they did in Game 1 and give you everything for free.
Yeah, but they didn't in Game 2 at all.
Right, but
that's
blue side.
Yeah.
Blue side, if you have blue side, then everyone agrees that you get all the stuff.
There is Owner on the Viego, and Owner has actually been the only member of T1 that I feel like has been consistent in every single game. I did think his end to the previous one was a little bit iffy, but outside of that, I think he has actually been
amazing drawing.
Amazing. We saw that one in the intro as well. So well done. That's GU on Kai'Sa as well, which he's playing.
That's what he's doing right now. T1, though, a lot of scaling, as we can see here. And Carrier, an amazing Tahm Kench. Needs no introduction on that one. The engaged Kench is very, very strong. Nongshim, though, a very aggressive composition, a lot of side laning power. 2 very different styles clashing here in Game 3. All right, here we are. Onto the Rift 4, game number 3, the decider between T1 and Nongshim. And for those that are watching this as a T1 fan, you're like, wow, Nongshim are playing them really close. I'm really disappointed. Don't be. I think, like, especially if you watched the recent Pogstate episode, I think a lot of us have Nongshim as a pretty comfortable legend group team. This is a squad that we think are starting to really come into their own, and I'm hoping to see even better things from them in the future. I think that Nongshim will be taking a lot of games like this from even, you know, the Humble Life Esports, maybe the Gen Gs, and the DKs moving further forward in the tournament.
Looking at Nongshim's record so far as well, have been facing a lot of the weaker teams, right? DNF, DRX, but they did close all those out very cleanly. The only one where they really kind of dropped the ball was the DRX series, and even that, they still won.
Yep.
As we take a look. One other thing that I do have to mention is obviously Smash has a range advantage in this matchup. Rakan Zaya is also, or Rakan Kaisa rather, is also notoriously picked for everything after lane. It's a really good combo there, but this should be a repeat of game number 1, where the T1 bot lane should be able to build a at least comfortable prior lead. I don't think the bullying should be quite as heavy as it was in that game. This Calix, his early laning has been a little iffy, but his mid games have really, again, kind of blown me away today.
Yeah, his game sense has been very, very good. But like you were saying, Faker has had the edge when it comes to getting these lanes in order, as that Foxfire was very satisfying. And being able to tidy up most of those minions pretty comfortably here. As Kingen and Doran, I mean, this is going to be a largely non-interactive lane. See how Kingen's going to be able to utilize his Trial by Fire, which is the thing that I always tend to watch when it comes to Gangplanks, and how many of his barrels he's actually able to hit, and how many Doran's able to take away. So a lot of mini games you are going to have. As that barrel lands quite nicely. Brass Fox coming on through. Man, that's another one. As I thought he actually had a passive back up then and possibly could have started burning down the Scion even more. You can see it is just shoot and Q, and it's like Q, 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 and Q, and Q from both of them.
That does describe a lot of League of Legends, Atlas. Like,
yeah, that's true. It's a lot of matchups. However, it is still this matchup, okay? Whether it is, you know, universal or not, doesn't make it less true. There's another Q, for example.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, I shouldn't have doubted you.
Well, more barrels being thrown. Roar of the Slayer not going to quite hit the mark as Gideon looking for an early gank angle, but there is a ward in that brush as the zap connects onto Lehens. You're going to get slowed down here. Smash doing a great job alongside Carrier of keeping control of this lane. As Ona, in the enemy jungle actually, steals away a blue buff. Will be able to get on out of there, or at least spots the blue buff. Wasn't actually keeping an eye on him.
Yeah, they have even clears, although Gideon is a bit delayed because he wasted some time towards the top side of the map. Obviously, both junglers are happy to farm, but Nocturne kind of has to because his early presence is very, very negligible. I also wonder what Kingen is going to do in terms of build. I personally would not be opposed to just go like Triforce into LDR. This is one of the occasions where being able to bust tanks reliably is, I think, going to be a really big deal that we'll see. We've also seen like the collector prio be high, and in this case, you could argue that Doran is going to die just because Geo is going to auto him, and being able to actually do as much damage as possible to Smash and Faker might be what he indexes towards. I also wonder whether he's going to pick up a Cole. We're about to see as Calix not quite able to step out of that one.
Yeah, still able to get these minions though, so as far as lane control, he's doing just fine. Couple of the red rocks picked up that we've seen be quite a trend here in the LCK. As Kingen looking for a little bit of a reset angle by the looks of things, didn't have a lot of the blue stuff as Smash is going to get ignited. Jiu looking for an angle here as the Battle Dance gets the Rakan out of there before the Flame Chomper's arm. And that is a very nice trade. Kingen actually electing to stay, as we can see, but Calix is in a whole bunch of trouble. He's going to have to flash. Gets out of the way of the gravity field, but thank goodness he didn't walk into a Viego.
Outplayed there. Faker presenting him with two bad scenarios. Either you don't flash and you end up getting killed by Faker, or you get herded towards Owner. And again, the early laning troubles do continue. Ari, as long as you hit 6 and he's like 20% off, you'll be fine. particularly against something like the Victor. Victor doesn't. If it was a, you know, like a Lissandra or something of the sort that actually had immediate CC, it'd be kind of tough. But
we
with
did
Ari,
see Lissandra, didn't we, in the LPL?
I think so. Lissandra to me is one of those champions where I'm always like, I hope she comes back every now and then. But if it is a Lissandra meta, it's not fun.
No, it doesn't feel all that interactive. I feel like Talia is like the more interactive and fun version of Lissandra.
Yeah, Lissandra to me is just when she's good and her laning phase, her weak laning phase can be kind of negated. It's Smite Fight.
Yep, gonna be secured here by Gideon. Nicely done. Takes away the first one. The rest of Nongshim are grouped up, but you can see Smash and Carrier moving on down. And that should be able to secure the remaining 2 grubs, but denying the feat of strength. Going to be nice here for Gideon, and wanting to just get the experience, right? The rush to level 6, obviously the thing for the Nocturne, as Lehen's able to get himself out, but will get licked for his trouble.
There is that engage Kench as Carrier goes in, and this is the benefit of having an outranging bot lane matchup, right? Like the winning matchup means that Gideon has to peace out because Gio is catching the wave on top, Smash and Carrier already there. But Nongshim is happy. They just want to get the 1 grub so that Gideon can get as much XP as possible, and he is about to hit a level 6, which T1 should be aware of as well. Doran isn't really in a position where I think he's very gankable because he is still quite healthy. Faker, though, needs to be careful because I think that's where Gideon might look. Once he gets this blue buff, should be 6. Faker still has Smash, though, or he still has Flash, though. He also has Smash, but Smash is in the top lane.
Yep. Standing in the brush, as we can see. Zap going to come on through there as Jiu able to get out, but Lehen's not going to be as lucky. Has another charge on the Battle Dance, though, and the idea of trying to kill a Rakan still looking dicey.
Generally tough, unless you can actually lock him down. That's the one weakness that I do see with the T1 comp. Once you CC someone, I think all the setup is, like, it's great, right? You have the Chompers, you have the Cyan Q, you have Viego. But starting off the chain is kind of tough. There's a lot of really mobile characters on Nongshim. There's Oranges, there's Spell Shields.
No, the way they start off any fight is Doran just drives into the enemy team.
And then Gideon walks up and Spell Shields.
Yep. Yeah, but, like, still Doran's in there. And then they hit Doran. And then Doran dies, but then T1 probably wins the fight.
I could see it.
I think that's the angle.
Which is why he's on Cyan. Which, again, I think we don't, like to say players have earned Cyan duty, but this is one of those situations.
Yeah. I think that does make some sense. He will be very deadly when it comes to, following up on any sort of skirmish. Nongshim always need to be careful of the follow-up. Speaking of follow-up, Cannon Barrage coming in immediately as there's the Devour used, but the knockoff keeps them in place. First Blood goes over to the Nocturne. The Flame Chompers with the massive value as it's not quite up, but Calyx comes in. Spirit rushes in, Spirit rushes out, and then dies. Faker going to be able to pick that one up. 2 for 1 in the end, but you'll take that if you're Nongshim as they eviscerate the bottom lane.
That's worth. You take that as Gideon getting 2 stacks as a Wool owner. Yeah, he definitely wins this 1v1.
You would say so.
Although,
rest of Nongshim are in here, though.
I think the big thing is mid-prio, because I think...
Spell Shield's good. As owner is going to be able to take the red buff. Fear going to come on down.
Particularly, because I think the nerfs to Viego have kind of done their work. It used to be that he was able to duel anyone at any point. Nocturne is actually kind of crazy, right? With the attack speed power that he has. What I love there is they're going on carry out, right? As you highlighted, that's the thing you can do with Rakan. Because if he ults on Smash there, he's not in a position, Smash gets gobbled up, and he might not have the damage to actually take him down. As Calyx here does get bodied, but I think that's worth it, right? You trade a 2 for 1, and you get Nocturne the stacks that he's looking for. I think you're going to be happy with that.
Yeah.
Not too bothered by it. Does mean that the individual lead for Faker when it comes to the CS remains about a wave, but Calyx did get the kill, so not going to be feeling too sad.
Yeah. Well, hence now moving on over here as Calyx trying to avoid this gravity well. Oh, Grand Entrance not quite going to work out. Here as the Charm will connect onto Faker. No follow-up. And I don't think Calyx's Ahri has been nearly as impressive as his Galio or Azir so far. See how he does as we move further into this game. There's a couple of plates already down here for T1 on the top side of the map. Flame Trump is going to get supercharged away from, but it's a 1 versus 2 here. And Ona now moving on over. Gideon looking for this fight once again. Off a fresh buy, but still going to miss out on the smite. Ona's smites have been just absurd.
Well, Gideon didn't have his.
Ah,
so that was
that's
it was
why
it
his
was a
smite
little
was
it was a
better.
little unfair. Yeah.
Is Dorian going to lose a shield by the looks of things, and Nongshim going to lose 5 grubs this game. As T1, with all of that control that they had on that top side, is going to reward them with these grubs.
The mid game thus far not looking the way I think Nongshim is looking towards. Gideon made a great impact with his first ult, going to be looking for more of that. And Kingen obviously, pre-first item, you're not really going to have that much pressure on the Sion. Doran actually able to navigate this game quite nicely thus far. GP is always going to pull ahead in gold, that's just inevitable.
Yeah.
But Doran still skills insanely one again. Outside of Calyx, actually taking him down I think is going to be, or outside of Kai'Sa rather, taking him down is going to be quite tough. As the Dragon should be on the board here for Nongshim, because I think they need to start stacking some objectives and put some pressure on T1, because if you just end up in a straight up front to back, Nongshim has good scaling elements, particularly when it comes to sideline. GP is going to be a menace, but I think their execution barrier is a lot higher compared to T1, where it's really just protect Jinx. And I think it's also Faker and Smash will just kind of run the fights later on.
Ooh, Carrier face checking Gideon here. He will get a little bit frightened, as we can see. Lahen's turning up as well as the quickness comes down. They do manage to get a charm, but the rest of T1, they're turning up faster, and there's the teleport in as well from the Sion. Flame Chompers will be eaten, and so is Lahen's. As Ona looking to come on over, gets that transformation as the Viego, of course. And Gideon now underneath the turret, but I don't know whether he's out of dodge just yet. Jiu is there. And Carrier not going to go in for any more. Smash looking to pick up this minion wave and crash another one forward as Cannon Barrage still there from Kingen.
They need to dive because this is very costly. No one is matching Kingen right now. Faker's on his way, but we'll see if this works.
Yeah, Cannon Barrage. Oh, right on the edge of the queue, and down goes the Nocturne in the blink of an eye. Ona now gets a turn to be the spooky Nocturne. And so, yes, Kingen did get a little bit of spare time, but Faker did just waddle his way up there. And T1 just got everything out of that trade.
Very worth. They're going to be very happy with that whole sequence. Yeah, who was the other play? Was it Diablo that just walked into the sign queue?
Yeah, and just died.
Yeah.
Gideon also, it felt to me like he was almost out of it. But he
you can never trust the sign queue hitbox.
Yeah, no. It's a little bit naughty to see.
Early game's looking really good, as it's Lahen's just being a little bit too trigger happy here. If Calyx is here, you can kill him here, I think, without too much issue, but going in this early when there is no damage follow-up just doesn't work. In theory, trying to go for the Kench I think is quite nice, as then Lahen's feels like he can't move towards the top half because he's getting zoned off. I'm kind of wondering, I feel like Gideon dies here even if this Q doesn't hit, but maybe not. Not 100%.
Yeah, see, he thought he was out of it.
But like, if you've played enough against Sign, you know that that is definitely not a safe space. But even with the King ult, I think they got the crash in anyway, so probably someone would have died. It's Gideon looking for an ult again.
Yeah, and there it is. Once again, it's the paranoia to come on out. They get the knock up there as well, as the Jinx is very healthy, and there is the triple knockup from Carrier. Ona turns up as well, but the barrels explode for a lot of damage, and Lahen's going to need to try and get himself out, does so with the grand exit. As Calyx also invested ulti to try and stop Faker there, as we can see, avoiding these orbs of deception really nicely. And Nongshim seem to be falling apart at the seams a little bit here in this game 3.
In the short term, that play not working out. Do note the summoners, though. They got free flashes for that, and no one ended up going down. So it's a bit of a shame that Gideon's ult didn't hit the mark the way it did on the previous one. As with how Gio has been playing, I was a little worried that he would just walk into a queue there and die. We've seen a good amount of Sion, or players into Sion, do that now. A little bit too consistently for my liking. As Kingen, the expectation is that this GP is going to scale into a legitimate win condition, but we saw there as well, not that much damage actually available between the barrier, the rocket shield. Couldn't quite match, as Kingen going to pick up yet another wave here towards the bottom side of the map.
Yep, parrying all the minions, that was satisfying. Whole wave just getting obliterated. The thing that I'm worried about is the fact that Smash has been free farming, now 20 CS in the lead. Lahen's also possibly in trouble, as we're seeing. still able to dance his way out of there, but it does mean that he's unable to just walk around and get wards down where he wants them. And Gio defending this outer turret as best as he can. Do have the feats of warfare already completed here for T1 as they made it to 3 kills, but still no first blood, and only 1 objective has been secured here. T1 being able to grab a 3-stack of grubs, and no one has taken a dragon again!
No dragons and no turrets?
It's
in
absurd.
my LCK? Yeah, that's not surprising at all. I don't know why I tried to sell it.
Yeah. But I think the dragons thing is a little bit...
The dragon thing is, yeah. As much as we joke, we both know LCK teams love trading dragons.
Well,
Ideally for
it's
grubs
gonna
as
be-
well. That's gonna be feats going over to T1.
Yeah. So turret going to be secured.
Doran has
Upgraded
E,
shoes coming on in
working
there.
out.
As Lahans, you can see, really wanting to find an angle. They dive onto Carrier, who does have the grey health, eats it, and still goes down. The train is going to land. Massive double knock-up. Super Mega Jet Target comes in, but Smash is going to get CC'd by Lahans. One more order required, but look at this. T1, they just say, we've got a train, and we will just run you over. No! And you cannot even get it. Oh, no. That is insult meeting injury. That is an ace, and T1 take full control.
Doran actually saving the game there.
Yep. Oh,
That's where we're at, Atlas. I didn't see it coming, but I want you to watch the absolute cinema of this crash as he... Initially, this fight looks rough. Carrier just goes down. They bait them in, and then look at this. 2-man knock-up, then 2-man Q, sets up for Smash. Smash gets his passive, and the rest of Nongshim already way too deep. Untouched is the Jinx because so many resources have been invested into killing specifically that Kench. Ju doesn't even get the eye for his troubles, and now Smash sitting at 2 items, and this game
2,000 gold the lead,
Yeah.
just for Smash on this Jinx.
Atlas.
Yeah, I have a feeling that perhaps this one is in the books. However,
It's
it
not
is
over
good
yet.
to see T1 having a bit of a bounce back, even after just that disappointing game 2. This is what we wanted to see, you know, it was supposed to be. Angry T1 just stomps Nongshim. I think next best is Nongshim plays up to T1, and T1 is still able to put them down. As Faker in this side lane here. Kingen still going to be, you know, attempting to scale as best he can. You can see Faker able to even win the barrel mini game.
There's the collector. I'm not surprised. Seen a lot of GPs. Oh no, not a miss. Oh, it's a bait!
Yeah, it is. And Faker goes down exceptionally fast here as well as Kingen. Gonna have to eat some oranges, but Faker is actually gonna stay alive. Teleport comes in from Calyx as the zap will protect the president. Now that is an immediate charm onto Doran, but he's a brick wall, and they're not gonna be able to get in there. So they just save Faker. 4,000 gold, still the advantage here for T1, and there are bounties on the Rift. And remember, T1 sculpted themselves a pure scaling composition. This is Tahm Kench Jinx. This is the classic hyper carry, get to the late game and dominate.
It's Tahm Kench, Jinx, Victor, and Sion.
Yeah. Yeah, this certainly fits the old front-to-back team fighting composition MO.
I went for Serpent's Fang instead.
Huh.
I mean, it's, you know, there's a lot of shields on the enemy team.
I guess it's fine.
I guess, yeah, you go Serpent's Fang into LDR. I guess you can go Executionist as well. Executionist is quite good here, actually. Okay, that makes sense. So, things are not looking too hot for Nongshim. Even though, again, I think there are comps of their element that scale well. There is the Kaisa, which eventually does get to the point where if you can get access to Jinx and Kench isn't near, you can blow her up.
Oh, Kingen's found Doran. Kinda. Well, actually, he's taken real damage. In comes the Kaisa to try and help out as well as the barrels are connecting. He just wants to get to a good position, but doesn't have the ulti anymore. As the knockup comes down, but he is still going to die, ladies and gentlemen. The trial is by fire, and he has not passed. So the Sion is killable. It just requires sort of everyone and a whole bunch of time.
Even gets the cancel on Kingen's back there. Kingen does have TP, and now a vision trap being set up by T1. They're faking another gun take.
As Faker does turn up. And
they have to be a little careful here.
Away, yeah. Lahen's going to get engaged on, and there's the chain CC. The Rakan nowhere to go, although does at least manage to get an ability off, but that is going to be Ona securing the kill. Turns into a Rakan of himself, and will be able to now look for the Otacon as this outer turret does fall, but the Otacon will do the same thing, and this is going to give them a whole lot more as well. As all of these blood petals come on through, they get all the experience and all of the extra damage.
Yeah,
it's a rough one for Nongshim.
Nongshim going for the classic, well, I guess we cross-map, because we kind of have to. It was 16 to like 15 before. Now we can just, oh my god. Yeah, number keeps 43 to like, what, 15, 16. The experience, Smash and Geo were even. Now Smash is about, what, like upwards of half a level ahead. Mid lane looking similarly rough for Calyx, who, as you highlighted, unfortunately, after 2 insane games, this one a lot more neutered. I think we see the reason why Victor has been so consistently banned or kicked away, as Calyx on the unfortunate receiving end of that one. And T1, looking clean, Owner going for the current classic Viego build, where you just really want to kill them.
Yeah.
You always do, but with
he's also
Black
3-0 and 5. That's like one away of 100% kill contribution as the Viego in this game.
Oh, my POM vote is not difficult, Atlas.
No, it's not a toughie. It's definitely not a toughie. As he's like won every single Smite fight as well throughout the series. Guy has been doing good.
Yeah. Yeah, he has been. Love to see it if you're an Owner fan. Nongshim, again, not out of it. Geo is about to hit his Nashers. And this is the type of champion that can actually bust through things like a Kench, like the Scion, but we're going to need more than that. We're going to need to see Kingdom with a third item. We're going to need to see Gideon with a second.
Yeah, Calyx can at least
inside, but like, who do you even go for? You can't kill Doran unless Gio's there, and even then it's going to take you a good amount of time.
Yeah, Doran is stacking up the magic resist as well, as we can see. And with both the Kai'Sa and the Ahri being the damage sources outside of the Gangplank, you're feeling pretty good about that one. As Nongshim, I think, have a little bit of an idea that they want to start something. And of course, they want to be playing on the front foot, right? You're a Nocturne composition. You're the one that wants to be making it dark, making the plays. Lahen's will be able to get himself out. Speaking of Nocturne, he's going to be now going back home. Yeah, the Dragon has spawned, and that is just immediately going to go to T1.
This is gone. There's no way for them to really contest.
Ooh, nice sidestep there from Faker. He's going to be able to avoid barrel damage.
Yeah, we're looking at, you know, Hail Mary barrel. Not the player, the ability.
Yeah.
Or someone in T1 overextending inside, but that's also easier said than done.
Interesting.
Interesting.
That makes things pretty good for T1. I'd say that Doran's pretty happy about the good old Chemtech situation.
Yeah, Viego as well, as
and
his
Tom Kench, yeah.
Even Victor has a good amount of his shield on his kit. He has his Seraphs as well. This is T1 also not taking any gambits. No shenanigans. No weird jungle fights.
I mean, you say that, but in 50 seconds.
Well, the Baron is going to spawn and they're going to do that, but that's normal, you know?
Yeah, and I guess they can probably actually just do that as well. As Kingin, he's going to try and go for it once again. As
Passive does a lot of damage.
Doran not going to be able to get the ulti to work out as the immediate follow flash comes through. Cannon Barrage says that there is no way Gio's going to show up as well. They're investing a lot to kill this Scion, and kill him they will. It's just at what cost? As here in the mid lane, we are going to find out. As Calyx dancing around does manage to take down the minion wave, as the zap is collected by Lahen's pretty diligently. And the steal away on the red buff is going to also conclude this whole play. Calyx on towards the top side, and with the wave clear that he now has, with this couple of items that he's built up, is actually able to stem some of the bleeding in the cross-map play.
But again, Nongshim is behind. I think both in scaling when it comes to, you know, relative ease of execution and composition, as well as in gold and objectives, but they're not just out of it yet. I think T1 also identify this because they're not just, you know, throwing a Hail Mary Baron.
Yep.
Just starting it off, seeing what happens, as they are often happy to do.
Auto reminder completed.
Yeah, King didn't even have that, by the way, on the previous play, and it just really highlights how insane Trial by Fire is, that with just Triforce and Serpent's Fang, he was cutting through Doran.
He did have a Last Whisper.
I know, but that's not
I know,
not
it's
that
not
much
enough.
armor.
It's not enough. And so now actually going to be a legitimate threat.
Ooh, Gio with Nashers as well.
Yeah, okay.
Still, what's most likely going to happen is T1's going to start an objective. Nongshim's going to try and get anything.
Oh, God.
Owner is, yeah, he's big. He's very scary.
Calyx learning that he does not want to fight Owner.
Hmm.
Of course, Owner is still Paper Man. If they're able to chain CC him, he does die. Unfortunately, has a lot of mobility.
IE done now for Smash.
3 items for the Jinx. They're more expensive than what Jiwoo's put together as well.
Yeah, so the cool thing about this game is that we will know within about half a second who wins the team fight. I'm not because if anyone on Nongshim dies, they lose.
Yep.
Because Smash will get excited, and Owner will start resetting, and then the fight is just not, I think, not playable. So they need to make sure no one dies, which is easier said than done. T1 have a good amount of damage available, and a range
Picking a fight
advantage
here
as well.
could be an option. Doran does have teleport and can get in, but if they can execute someone, there might be an angle. However, T1 also, I mean, they are pretty far ahead, and especially where it counts, right? The Jinx is so scary. Smash having a great game, and he also has a Tahm Kench, which makes it even scarier. Locket of the Iron Solari completed as well. And Owner is almost like keeping up with solo lanes as far as completed items are concerned too, doing his very best to just get as much money and scale into this game as best as possible. This is one of his better champions. I just don't know how much it matters.
We're getting to the point in the game, though, where relatively the lead for T1 is going to mean less and less. I just keep going back to the T1 Cup. If they get a front to back, is amazing. And because they've been in such great control, they still have their mid lane outer.
Yeah.
So actually getting a creative angle for Nongshim is really hard.
Oh, Kingen just not able to get any of these barrels. Does eat some oranges in order to get out of the way, but that is going to spell the death of the inner turret. So that lane has become even longer.
They're probably just going to give up the Drake and try to play force, because you want to force T1 an uncomfortable position, right? If T1 can just set up,
Lehens.
you're in deep trouble, as that is a lot of damage there, Lehens. I haven't highlighted this. He won Blood Song.
Interesting.
I feel like he really wanted Celestial with how a lot of this is played out.
Oh, the charm just not really going where it wants to as the Chaos Storm gets every flash under the sun. Kingen gonna be the first to go down, and that, like you said, is just gonna spell the end. Oh, Voidseeker almost killing Owner here, who's still ticking down. Is this the paranoia to finish him off? I think it's a one-way trip, though, as Gideon trying to get himself out of there. The zap going wide, the knock-up not connecting, and he has the spell shield. Oh my goodness, is he out of there? No, Tongue Lash going to come on through. The zap not quite going to work out, and there's the Fear Tether. He sidesteps the next Tongue Lash, and there is a Mega Cone to get him to safety. I think there was a flash in there from Faker.
Wait,
and
did he get Drake?
Roars. Okay, yeah, maybe they're going to be able to get the Drake as Gideon going to Fear Faker, and now he's continuing his merry jaunt. He now knows that he's dead, but that was, you know, he made that choice. And they take the Drake.
They're going to lose Nash, most likely, because Gideon is dead for 40 seconds. But they got Drake! That was cool!
That was really cool. Chronically,
Yeah.
you're exactly right.
The dramatic, like, zoom in as he was flying across the rift. As Faker says, guys, he can't be in a choke point. And
Yeah.
he's right. Even though Kingdom takes a little bit of time to die, everyone else is very much on the back foot as expected. He wants to start this up. All the damage dealers are here, though.
Yeah, Cannon Barrage not available just yet.
Alex?
Alex going in, misses the charm, and gets crashed into, or at least Kingen does. He needs to get out of there, but he has no options. Over the wall goes Calyx. Land's gonna follow him, but Owner gets over there as well with a Heartbreaker. And now T1 looking for even more. Super Mega Death Rocket just to make sure that they get out of there, and they do so. It is only the Gangplank going down, but he's dead for 40 seconds time. And so that Cannon Barrage that's up in 4 is gonna have to wait as well. As Doran's over the wall, but this Baron has been started. Voidseeker going to at least get on in there, and Gideon does have Paranoia, so
Flip it.
they might be able to make this a 50-50. Still, it's exceptionally dangerous as the charm is going to come through onto Doran.
One-way ticket.
There's the Paranoia, and he needs vision. He needs to be able to click on someone to get in. The triple knock up there from Doran as well, as
flash.
the Baron is now low. In goes Lehens over the wall, they go. The Baron is still at 1,000 health as Gideon unable able to get it because Owner is the king of smites. Calyx able to get himself out, but the fight is well and truly lost. And T1 are going to look to push for the win.
It was Smash!
All right.
How did
boss.
Smash get it?
Well, maybe because Gideon died. Because they just ignored the Baron. It was really smart stuff there from T1. A swift call to say, we are killing them. We are not going to take down the Baron.
It's the Smash Splash damage, Atlas!
Oh, God.
He got them!
Oh, God.
Well, okay. Maybe the game
guys?
isn't over just yet.
Let's,
Kingen?
No,
What?
this game...
It's that one extra longsword
this
that
series
really did it.
been too entertaining. I don't want it to be over. I know it is over. Atlas, we all know that. But I don't want it to be over right now.
Oh, we are driving into the
You
top
know that
lane.
feeling when you play a game and you know it's almost done and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you get like that ultimate deck in Slay the Spire, and you don't want to kill the heart.
As unfortunately for Kingen, he does not have a dash and he's very far up, so Doran just ults him and he kind of dies. Now we take a look here. A lot of resources are invested by T1, a lot of time rather, to try and make this play work. As this looked a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Actually, nicely done by T1. Play around the vision denial very well. Also, don't damage the Baron until the ult from Gideon times out. And then Lahens goes in. But the problem is that Smash is untouched.
Gio also goes in.
Yeah, that ult for Gio was unfortunately not it. He saw blood in the water. Unfortunately, it was precognition and it was his own. And he ends up dying.
Yeah.
And now that gold lead has gone to a nigh insurmountable level. Although it's only mid-inhib. I'm trying to cope at this. Although it's only mid-inhib, all right? Mid-inhib. And they're not going to lose soul.
True.
Now, they
Doran
lose their
has
Nexus in about
70,000.
Atlas, let me cope.
Okay, got it.
I got nothing.
I think Doran can actually just walk up, tank all 5 of them and the turret, and then T1 kills the turret.
I thought that on Sign, and it was never true. But they didn't have the rest of T1 backing me up there. I feel like it might have helped.
Yeah. Just having a look at how many bits of health bar he has, you know? And they're just guarding this siege minion.
So
Dude
30
doing his best
seconds.
to clear out
Bot
vision
lane
where he can.
on.
And Doran's doing it. He is making the play. Yeah, where he just walks up, tanks the turret, minions stay alive, and the second inhibitor is going to go down. Nongshim, it's up to them to try and start a fight here. And they do have all of their buttons available.
Unless...
All right.
T1 are going to play it slow.
Smash gets tagged. And it's not Soul.
No, I know. Because of
Yeah.
Gideon's shenanigans.
All right. Still, they lose 2 inhibitors. Now, I mean, let us cast your minds back to a certain game that did have a smolder in it, right?
Oh, Gio, the smolder moment.
Yeah.
Got mercilessly shut down in perhaps one of the most cinematic moments ever when the arrow pierced the dragon. I'm being made
that
fun
moment hasn't happened yet.
I'm being made fun of by the...
The copium overloaded
We both
here from
are.
the cast. Because
we
I mean,
know this is over.
Yeah, it's done, but we need to now take this moment to try and see whether there are any angles, even if there are not. As it's 8,000 gold is a pretty big deal, and it's the Jinx mainly that has most of it. 2.8k is really just ludicrous. He's got a GA as well as an extra cheeky BF sword because he can.
You need to get through GA, barrier. Flash will probably be up by the next fight.
Oh man, there's just more and more copium images on the prompter right now.
Oh my god. They're really spamming those.
They really like load them up. As Lahen's just taking a cue for fun.
It's bait! Oh no.
Yeah, well, they do manage to get a charm onto Faker, who just goes golden. Lahen's now just gonna get knocked up and taken down. Sometimes you just have a Zhonya's and you're just feeling fantastic as Ona Heart breaks in. Jiu gonna have to flash as Ona gets over the wall and just flashes on top of him. He goes golden as well though, and it's another charm that's looking pretty good. Death's Daughter rains down onto Ona, but he's able to get himself out of there. And Nongshim, they are bleeding. They've lost a Rakan, but they have a few of their tanks, their damage dealers still left alive. But Doran just doesn't take damage. And now Carrier's diving forward. Down goes the gangplank. Carrier will fall, but he's making the sacrifice for his team. And the GA is procced. The Nexus is exposed, and T1 will be able to take down Nongshim here in our first series of the week.
And T1 looks like they just dodged a Gangplank Q because that was a very, very hard-fought battle. This first game, definitely the least close out of the three. As Lahens, you saw, like, as always, a little wry grin on his face because he knows for Nongshim, I think you're going to be happy with this. Yes, you didn't win, but you brought it to a free gamer. Kalix looked great. And for T1, that third game was the only times I think like the T1 they were expecting coming into LCK, but not the T1 we've seen thus far.
Yeah, I think that the first game was a bit of a wake-up call, and the second game was definitely confirmation of it, and then T1 got the message, and this was played a whole lot cleaner. I was expecting actually that this would be the game, based on the drafts that we saw, that Nongshim might be able to find an edge, but man, the way they just played out your classic front to back, have that big boy in the front line and allow Smash to pop off. It worked very, very effectively. And Carrier picking up his Tom Kench looks real nice. But you can see there aren't the broad grins on the T1 faces at all here after this game. I think they're going to need a few more wins that look a bit cleaner than that if they want to be really happy.
Redemption game for Doran. Really, the takeaway is maybe Cyan Duty is the best spot.
Yeah, he's always been a pretty decent tank player.
He would have been my player of this game. If there was a POG, he would be it for me in this one.
I would agree.
I think he had actually a really good Cyan game, managed the early game well. Ended up dying, what, like twice after very heavy resources were invested. As T1, initially it looked like this was going to be yet another of those crazy back and forth, but this fight right here, you know with a composition like T1's, if you win these mid-game fights,
oh god,
things look amazing. So yeah, Doran really hitting incredible. They're also forcing, I didn't even catch that the first time, the barrier from Gio. Gio unfortunately on the Kaisa, not quite showing up this time around.
His day was not a great one.
It was just the Ashe game.
Yeah.
And even that one was fine, but not crazy.
Smash having a phenomenal performance on this Jinx. We know from Challenger it is one of his better champions, one that he has had a lot of success on in the past. As this was the Hail Mary here from Nongshim, checking this one out. A triple knock-up from Doran. Put that in the top 5 plays next to Bin. You know what I'm saying? As then Nongshim will just jump into the meat grinder and get ground.
Oh, Gio. Not so sure about that one. Unfortunately, as we're taking a look, Faker. Yeah, Victor, with the current build, is not squishy.
Yeah.
He has Rod of Aegis and he has Zhonya's. But no, Nongshim has to try and go
Doran's
Mary.
alpha, it is obscene.
Like 5.5k health. Close to 6.
Yeah, I think it's closer to 6. I don't know what it really looks like.
There you go.
Always
Actually,
has, like,
as
a
you're
massive
saying,
shield.
look at that.
Just tanking all the turrets. And then Carrier goes in, and you know, it doesn't even matter that they lose a couple as they are able to take down this turret. Having a listen, communications are looking good. You can see it's not a massive amount of excitement. It's more sighs of relief here from the T1 players. As we have a look at the damage numbers, and Faker, a phenomenal performance here on the Victor in game number 3.
That really felt like a sigh of relief, you know? I wasn't quite EDD level sigh of relief. I think T1, because again...
The audible thank God without saying thank God.
Exactly. I think T1 obviously still looks shaky, but we have to acknowledge, Nongshim is just a good team. That's where we are. They are very clearly, at worst, the 5th best team in the LCK.
Let's give Owner his POM.
Lock it in.
Bring it up. Here we go.
Imagine if we were both wrong and it's not Owner.
Nah, that'd be crazy. There's no way that it's not Owner.
It might be Faker.
No.
I mean, I think it should be Owner.
Owner just, like, he got all of them smites. And it's Faker, so never mind. 406 on the Talia was pretty good. And 214, his Victor was fantastic.
So his Victor was amazing. And on Talia also had a ton of impact, so I'm not too shocked by this one.
Yeah, I mean, I am. I think
the Rise game was...
I think Owner had like all of the control in almost all of it, as we are going to just rub my face in it here as, yeah, the Nongshim prediction was wrong. But was it bad?
You made, you know, a prediction that was bold, and I think that
You earned it.
Thank
It was
you.
close.
Thank
It was
you.
good.
It's all right. You get your day tomorrow, Digon. Don't you worry about it. As let's dive over and have a conversation with Faker. Thanks to Tia.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Tia for the POM interview translation, joined by Faker on the side of T1, who just defeated Nongshim Red Force.
감사합니다.
Congratulations! Thank you. Faker, this is your first POM of 2025 LCK regular season. How do you feel?
저희가 이번 정규 시즌에서 2패하면서 이번 경기가 굉장히
During this
중요했는데 오늘
regular season, we already had 2 losses, so today's match win was so important. And I'm really glad that we're able to secure it today. Yeah, in games 1 and 3, you displayed such dominance and earned your POM today. And so what's your secret for playing so well despite the changes in the meta? You know, it must be because we're doing our best. There are some difficult moments, like the Game 2 defeat. So what aspect did you keep in mind while playing today? For Game 2, I think I felt like it was really hard to face the team in terms of team fighting. So I think that's just something that we try to focus on improving afterwards. And today, the 2007 born mid laner Calix played for Nongshim today, and that's a heaping 11-year age difference with you. So how did it feel playing against him? You know, it's so surprising that there is a 2007 born players on stage. And for sure, today, Calix did play above expectations, and that's what really brought today's match to this degree, and it was a great match today. And the AP mid item, Rod of Ages, is a hot topic lately. And the analyst has highlighted the importance of this item. Yet we noticed that we sometimes skip this item at times. So how do you rate Rod of Ages? No, I think this meta really focuses heavily on damage and CC. So I think Rod of Ages is one of those many itemization paths that you can take as a mid laner right now. There's been some analysis on how important the top side is in the current meta. So how did you think of the Viego pick today? I think the enemy comp, because they're going for that rush comp with Nocturne, I think that's just something that we tried to deal with that counter pick. So with the importance of the top side, so the top and jungle and mid, what are your thoughts as a mid laner? I think lately, besides the top side being so heavily focused, I think bot lane is just as important. And any words for your fans? You know, this is so early on during the regular season, and despite us not underperforming, I want to make sure that we are able to come back and show even better performance. And thank you so much for the ongoing support. And that's the end of the interview with Faker, and back to the space. Thank you.